Warrior Lore. Chapter 48-46. In Demon City, the Lien family had a tradition that there must be an elder among the guards. They had a very high status in the family. No one knew why. Only the old soldiers knew that their main duty was to wait. Wait for someone who might never appear. It was said that when the Lien family was in danger, the old madam prayed to him and saved the Lien family. Generation after generation, the old soldiers changed many times, but that person never appeared. Who would have thought that he would appear today? Just as the guard mentioned Lien Qing and Lien Lijue, the old soldier finally reacted. Zichun did not know about this. In just a moment, Lien Qing appeared in front of him. Compared to the past, she was much more mature. Perhaps it was because she came in a hurry, but her cheeks were red and her breathing was rapid. Young master, you're here. Lien Qing stuttered a bit when she spoke, which made the surrounding guards very surprised. One had to know that this patriarch had a swift and decisive style. When did she show such a girly demeanor? This made more people curious about the identity of this young man. Long time no see. I just happened to pass by here, so I came here to take a look. Zichun nodded with a smile. I didn't expect you to become the family head. Congratulations. No, I'm just the acting family head. I'm not married. Lien Qing quickly explained. This made the expressions of the guards even more strange. Master, Lien Lijue and his wife greet you. At this time, Lien Lijue and his wife also heard the news and came over. Lien Lijue immediately bowed to Zichun. The old housekeeper had already left, and the other party was a hidden saint venerable. Zichun quickly helped him up, and Lien Lijue quickly said, Master, please come in. Then, he immediately shouted, Silly girl, what are you waiting for? Hurry up, and let the servants prepare the banquet. I want the best banquet in the entire Demon City. Lien Qing finally reacted. Leaving the guests outside was already neglecting them. The three of them entered the Lien family's mansion, and the whole mansion was bustling with activity. Then, whispers could be heard. Although many years had passed, the Lien family's incident was still being talked about. It was said that it was the turning point of the Lien family in Demon City. The process was extremely dangerous, but in the end, the Lien family still managed to rise up and become the #1 power in the Demon City. However, the Lien clan did not bully others. Instead, they took special care of some of the spirit race people and recruited quite a few of them. Even the city lord's mansion was very wary of the Lien family. After arriving at the hall and taking a seat, Lien Qing personally poured tea for Zichun. The blush on her face never faded. Lien Lijue sighed and said, Ever since we parted that day, there has been no news of Darren. During this time, I also went out to look for my lord, but there was no news. When Zichun was in the Lien family, he used his real name. After going out, he changed his name to Mo Chan. At that time, he made the devil race suffer a lot. Naturally, this name was suppressed by the higher-ups. It was not easy for Lien Lijue to find out his whereabouts. After pouring the tea, Lien Qing stood beside Madame Lien and looked at Zichun. It was difficult for her to calm down. Zichun smiled apologetically and said, Back then, I left the demon world because of some matters. I just returned this time. Lien Lijue's expression changed slightly. He guessed that Zichun had gone to the spirit world. The devil race's invasion of the spirit world was a huge matter. However, they did not expect to return in defeat. Recently, the news had spread like wildfire. It's good that my lord is fine. It's good that you are fine. Lien Lijue knew that Zichun was of the devil race. However, he naturally went to the spirit world to fight. Therefore, it was unavoidably awkward to continue talking about this topic. He changed the topic and said, My lord, I have collected a lot of good wine these years. I have also waited for my lord for many years. Since my lord is here today, I hope you can have a taste. Then I'll have to trouble you. My lord, what are you saying? You are our Lien clan's great benefactor. No matter how many years have passed, we will never forget such a great favor. Back then, it was nothing. It's not worth mentioning. At this time, a voice came from the door, reporting to Master, Someone from the City Lord's mansion has come to visit. Why is someone from the City Lord's mansion here? Lien Lijue turned around and asked, Who is it? It's the city lord's newly arrived demon Wu Mountain Lord. Demon Wu Mountain? He came personally? Yes. Hearing the steward's words, Lien Lijue frowned. This demon Wu Mountain Lord had only recently arrived. It was said that he had a lot of power. On the day of his arrival, he directly removed the city lord's position and all his military authority. Although the other party had issued many decrees that were beneficial to the spirit race, Lien Lijue could not figure out the other party's intentions. Moreover, he had a good impression of the former city lord. Although there had always been a private rumor that the former city lord was afraid of the Lien clan, in reality, only Lien Lijue and a few members of the Lien clan knew that the city lord had helped them a lot and had always maintained a good relationship with the Lien clan. Just as Lien Lijue was hesitating whether to meet the new demon city lord at this time, a noisy noise suddenly came from outside. Lien Lijue immediately got up and was about to walk outside. At this time, a voice came from outside the door. The new city lord of the demon city, Demon Wu Mountain Lord, greets Lord Zichun. Lien Lijue stopped and turned to look at Zichun with some confusion. Lien Qing and Madame Lien also looked at Zichun. This new demon city lord was one of Zichun's men? The door opened and Zichun looked at the demon city lord outside. How did you know I was here? Demon Wu Mountain cupped his fists and said, in response to Lord's question, this lowly one once saw Lord Zichun from afar when I was under Lord Amo Ijan's command. So it's Amo Ijan, Zichun said indifferently. It seems that he already expected me to come here. Since you are the city lord here, you should have gained Amo Ijan's trust, right? That's because of Lord's nurturing, Demon Wu Mountain said respectfully. Before I came here, Lord told me that if I saw Lord Zichun, I was to tell Lord that he would definitely follow the agreement and treat all the spirit race in this world well. Lord can rest assured. Zichun nodded and said, tell Amo Ijan that I am relieved. When I have time, I will go look for him. Yes, this lowly one will take his leave. Demon Wu Mountain immediately left with his men. During this time, neither Demon Wu Mountain nor the few people he brought dared to raise their heads and look at Zichun. Hearing this conversation, Lien Lijue and the others were almost petrified. Who was Amo Ijan? He was a legend in the demon world. He rose to power as a spirit race member and finally became a sacred venerate. It was said that he was the vanguard in the invasion of the spirit race and had made great contributions to the demon race. Although Lien Lijue did not have a good impression of this person, he had to admit that the other party was really amazing to be able to reach this step as a spirit race member. And Lord Zichun actually had dealings with such a big shot. And from Demon Wu Mountain's words, it seemed that Amo Ijan was very afraid of Lord Zichun. Chapter 48-47. Zichun told Lien Lijue about what had happened back then, including the fact that the steward was a holy venerate. Lien Qing and Madame Lien were also very surprised. They obviously did not expect the truth to be like this. It was no wonder that the steward's first impressions were the strongest back then. He had given them one step after another, forcing Zichun to take action for the Lien clan. So he was a holy venerate. He already knew the truth. At this point, even Lien Lijue's last grudge was gone. Because this lord was not from the demon race, but the spirit race, he went to the spirit realm to go home. Later on, he went to other cities to search for a long time, but there was no news. This was very normal. Zichun said, actually, Amo Ijan is a good person. I guess that the current city lord should have a good relationship with the Lien family. Lien Lijue nodded and told him some things about the city lord. The city lord agreed to almost all of the Lien family's requests. Zichun said again, if I haven't guessed it, that city lord should be Amo Ijan's man. Lien Lijue was shocked. He had always guessed that the benefactor who had helped them all these years might be because of Zichun. He did not expect it to be Amo Ijan, who had a bad reputation in the spirit race. Zichun said, back then, not long after I left the demon city, I met Amo Ijan. He was also wholeheartedly for the spirit race, but he walked on a different path. The various orders that have been issued today are the result of Mo Ijan's hard work. I rarely admire people, and Amo Ijan is one of them. Zichun asked himself, if it was him, he might not be able to do what Amo Ijan did. Perhaps halfway through, he would have walked on the wrong path because of various temptations. Zichun revealed another truth for Lien Lijue. Lien Lijue sighed, but he also did not understand. This was a huge secret. Why did Lord Zichun tell him? Zichun smiled and did not explain the reason. I came back this time not only to see you, but also to see the future of this world. I want to see if this place will become better under Emoijan's rule. Of course, if you are willing to go to the spirit realm, you can. Not only you, but all the spirit race members in this world can return to the spirit realm if they want to. The news that Lien Lijue received today was too shocking, so much so that he couldn't recover from it while eating. Fortunately, Lien Qing was there. She continuously toasted Zichun with a few big bowls of wine, showing her heroic spirit. Lien Leek said some things. Some of them were big things for the Lien family, but for Zichun, they were small things that couldn't be any smaller. After eating, Lien Lijue suggested that Lien Qing take Zichun around the city. After all, they left in a hurry and didn't have time to take a good look at the city. It was difficult for Zichun to refuse such kindness, so he could only accept. With a beauty accompanying him, he attracted a lot of attention wherever he went. Lien Lijue shook off the smell of alcohol on his body and walked out of the door. Madame Lien asked, "Where are you going?" "Let's go to Demon Wu Mountain and ask them some questions." Lien Lijue tidied his robe. "Perhaps this is the last thing I can do for Qing'er." Lien Lijue went to find Demon Wu Mountain in the city lord's mansion. Demon Wu Mountain personally came out to greet him and seemed very warm. Without beating around the bush, Lien Lijue directly stated his purpose of visit, asking about Zichun. Demon Wu Mountain was a little surprised, but considering the relationship between Zichun and the Lien family, there was nothing to hide. However, his first sentence shocked Lien Lijue. Zichun is the most powerful saint venerable in the spirit realm. Lien Lijue then told him about Zichun, some of which he saw with his own eyes, some of which he heard from Moijan. Next, Zichun stayed in Demon City for 3 days. Demon Wu Mountain didn't come to disturb him. During these 3 days, Zichun stayed with Lien Qing every day. During this time, he bought her many little things. Before leaving, he left Lien Qing a small portion of diluted demon resources. This resource could help her become a saint venerable. When the passage opens, you can go to the Tianwu world to find me. 3 days later, Zichun left. Lien Qing escorted Zichun all the way to the outskirts of the city. She stood there and stared at Zichun's disappearing back for a long time. Lien Lijue and Madame Lien walked behind Lien Qing. Madame Lien looked at her daughter worriedly. "If you can't bear to leave, then go. No matter what the result is, Father will support you." Lien Lijue said, "You don't have to worry about the family." Lien Qing shook her head. During these 3 days, she had chatted with Zichun about many things. Zichun listened quietly and never got tired of it. Her heart gradually calmed down. She was already very happy to see an old friend again. She thought that she would miss him for the rest of her life. Moreover, she wasn't stupid. She knew the difference between the two of them. Speaking of which, she was already very satisfied that Zichun could accompany her for 3 days. After all, he was so outstanding. Emo Ijan, who was an unattainable existence to them, was so polite in front of Zichun. "Maybe one day, I will go and find him, but only as a friend." It wasn't that she didn't like him anymore. She just put this love deep in her heart. Chapter 48-48. The people that Emo Ijan had arranged to be in the various cities of the Devil Realm were all personally selected by him. They were his true subordinates. During the great battle back then, he had nurtured many of his own people, and they had suffered the least casualties. This time, other than all the direct descendants, there were also many who had been arranged to come with Emo Ijan. Their goal was to obtain contribution points. Emo Ijan was very clear about this and did not care about it. However, before this, he had already made it clear that they could take the contribution points, but they definitely could not affect the work of the people he had brought. To be more clear, as long as they lay here and did nothing, the contribution points would continue to flow in. As for my people, they were the ones who had to do the dirty work, including the infamy. They were all ours. You just had to lie down and win. Everyone was naturally happy to see this scene, and they all promised not to cause any trouble for Emo Ijan. Not to mention anything else, just by relying on a big tree like Zichun, Emo Ijan had an extraordinary status. As Zichun walked through the various cities of the devil race, he saw that the situation of the spirit race had greatly improved. Every day, there would be people who would announce their status as equals. Although many of the devil race were dissatisfied, this did not affect the overall situation. Once there was a dispute between the two sides, there would immediately be experts from the city lord's mansion who would take both sides away. After that, they would ask for the truth and let the spirit race go to punish the devil race. Although this method made many devil race very angry, to the spirit race, it had greatly improved their living environment. However, there were also some devil race who relied on their power and continued to do as they pleased. However, as some people reported, the higher-ups attached great importance to them. The people who came were all Emo Ijan's personal guards. They did not have any power in the local area, and they only had the power to intimidate a city. Therefore, as long as they were in front of them, they would be dealt with fairly. Occasionally, there would be some that could not be suppressed, and the other party would take the initiative to report it to the higher-ups, and then report it one by one until it reached Emo Ijan. For these people, Emo Ijan did not need to personally appear. Emo D, Emo Yendanzwa, Emo Jingtian, and the others who relied on connections to enter were all bored and happy to deal with this kind of matter. This was because if things were not handled well, it would be a great merit. Right now, the devil race did not lack anything else but contribution points. Zichun silently watched the development of the situation. Sometimes, he would play the role of an informant. After visiting several cities in a row, he was completely relieved. After that, he went to find Emo Ijan. Emo Ijan was not surprised by Zichun. He put down the things in his hands and smiled. "You came earlier than I expected. Why? Are you planning to leave so soon?" The spirit realm, Yi Tian Junjun. Zichun sat opposite Emo Iching. "Where's Daoist Ling? Is she willing to leave?" Emo Ijan did not mention this matter, but Zichun had long guessed that the two of them had talked about it. "I'm willing. It's still in the preparation stage. I originally planned to go there myself, but since you're here, it's better for you to go. It'll also let them be completely relieved." Yi Zhenyi in the day, Tian Day Day, Yi Zhenyi, Chen, Zhen, Yi, 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 Zhen, Yi, Zhen, Yi, Yi, Yi. Zichun took the jug of wine and said, "If there is any danger, remember to send me a message. I will rush over immediately." "With your words, I am even more at ease." Emo Ijanjin laughed. "By the way, do you also want to go to the God Realm?" Zichun shook his head and said, "No, I have to work hard on my cultivation. However, I will let the others go over there to take a look. Although I am not very familiar with Shen Hao, I feel at ease leaving this matter to him." "I know Shen Hao. He has principles, and the power behind him is great. Compared to the other god clans, he is indeed a good choice." The reason why Shen Hao is willing to stay, or rather, urgently wanted to stay in the Saint Spirit realm, was because he thought that the world would change greatly. Not only was the chance of becoming a holy sage very high, but even becoming a demon was no longer an extravagant hope. The two of them did not eat anything with wine. They chatted and drank until late at night. This was also the first time the two of them had a long talk since they met. When the sky brightened, Zichun left the room and went to find Daoist Ling according to Emo Ijanjan's instructions. After seeing Zichun, the old blind man finally relaxed and signaled for everyone to hurry up. Zichun noticed that the young people were very excited, but the old people were in low spirits. Although they had been fighting in this place for years, they had lived in this place for their entire lives. Suddenly going to a strange place, this feeling of being uprooted from their home still made them uncomfortable. In this regard, Zichun did not have any good ideas. Those who were familiar with Zichun in the past were still alive. After hearing that Zichun had come, they came one by one. But he did not know if they had heard something about Zichun from the old blind man. But when they saw Zichun again, they were a little reserved. Zichun told them about the situation in the spirit realm. Although they had been uprooted from their home, life in the spirit realm was definitely better than here. Not to mention other things, just being able to openly search for resources was already a great benefit for everyone. The resources that could not be taken away here could be obtained in the Saint Spirit realm in the future. Moreover, when everyone heard that it was easier to break through and even become a holy venerate there, They were all filled with anticipation for this trip. Of course, Zichun also met the housekeeper Holy Venerate in the end. If he had not appeared in time to protect Zichun, Zichun would not be where he was today. As a Holy Venerate, the housekeeper knew some things about the demon race, but it was not comprehensive. This time, after asking Zichun, he learned that so many things had happened, and for a time, he sighed. They stayed here for another month, waiting for old Blindy to gather all of the spirit race members on his side. Zichun then led them to the entrance of the passage. Along the way, when the demon race saw the spirit race team, they immediately came to inquire, but when they saw Zichun in the lead, they all retreated. Seeing this scene, the nervous crowd finally relaxed. In the end, wherever the group passed, demon race members would continuously appear. They were not here to monitor, but to guard. Along the way, in addition to the demon race army, there were also demon race holy venerates who protected them from afar. When they left their territory, they would all cup their fists at the figure in front of them. Regardless of their standpoint, they were all sincerely respectful to someone like Zichun. When they returned to the Saint Spirit realm through the transportation passage and saw the vast and endless void, all the spirit race members began to cheer. Zichun indicated that they could go alone and find an uninhabited planet to live on. On this point, they just needed the housekeeper Holy Venerate to agree. Soon, they found a base. It was a world that had just been born, and it was some distance away from the spirit race and the demon race. Chapter 48-49. After returning to the Tianwu world, everything was still as usual. As the world gradually stabilized, Jolina began to deploy external channels. Everything was on the right track. When Zichun returned, he found that the demons were not there. Only Shueshang was there. After Zichun inquired about the reason, he learned that another channel had opened. This time, Miao Miao, Ba Shou, and the others walked out of the channel. When Gu Shan sealed them back then, he did not seal them together. So this time, when the demons opened the channel, they all appeared. Shueshang did not have any clansmen and did not want to join in the fun, so she stayed here. Young master, are you going to cultivate next? The cloak turned into Shueshang, but she was still just a blurry figure. Zichun nodded. The current stability is only on the surface. I want to become stronger as soon as possible. Shueshang said, it's very difficult to become a demon, especially under such circumstances. Zichun knew this, but there was nothing he could do about it. It seemed that he could only speed up his cultivation now. Shueshang changed the topic. But if you want to become stronger, breaking through is not the only way. Zichun looked at Shueshang. You mean the Black Mountain Peaks? At the critical moment that day, Zichun unsealed Qi Yin and gave it its freedom. It was the best decision at that time. Qi Yin later proved that Zichun's choice was right. Shueshang nodded. Yes, young master, you still have 3 Black Mountains. They are the key to improving your strength. With them, you won't be any weaker than a demon. Zichun said hesitantly, I've thought about this, but I don't know what to do. I don't know those masters whose temper is as strong as their strength. I gave Qi Yin its freedom last time because I had no choice. I think the Bone Eagle is good, Shueshang said. Although it has a bad temper, it will never go back on its word. It values its promises. Qiong Qi helped young master last time, which proves that it has no other thoughts. As for Ba Shou, although he's a little poor, he's not that bad. How should he put it? Back then, when Gu Shan sealed everyone, he actually had his considerations. He probably wouldn't seal such a vicious and evil person. Of course, this is not absolute. At the very least, we don't know what is at the very top. Shueshang wasn't speaking for them. Instead, she was thinking for Zichun. Compared to the unreliable demon realm, this was a much faster way to improve his battle prowess. In the entire Tianwu world, Lady Frost was currently the only one who had broken through. Even Cheng Ho had yet to break through. How many years had they been stuck in the Saint Venerable realm? Only when one was truly strong would one need not fear anyone. Currently, Zichun's strength was only due to the power of others. Although everyone would still support him as usual, only by becoming stronger would he be able to achieve his goal. Zichun was also aware of this, but he couldn't make up his mind. Since Shueshang had spoken, Zichun knew what to do. He first gave the Bone Eagle its freedom. Although he still trusted Xiongqi, the Bone Eagle's condition was for him to go up there. He had met Xueshang, so it seemed that they had a good relationship. Next, Zichun began to refine the Black Peak with all his strength. Last time, he had only refined it briefly. As an existence that could suppress powerful demons, the Black Peak was naturally extraordinary. In another demon realm, Miao Miao and the others stood in the air. Their people were all prostrating themselves on the ground. Looking at her people, Miao Miao was very satisfied, even though there was no demon among them. If you want to stay here, you can continue to live here. If you want to leave, you can leave with me now. Miao Miao was the first to speak. Before coming here, she had already decided where to arrange for these people. Some of the clansmen were still at a loss, not understanding what was going on. However, some of them immediately walked forward. These people were mostly females. Miao Miao waved her sleeve and put them away. Not everyone was willing to follow Miao Miao, so after everyone made their choice, Miao Miao turned and left. Like Xueshang, the Bone Eagle didn't have any people. It just watched from afar. This time, it came out with everyone because it was bored. Qian looked at its people and said, "The spirit realm has been completely opened. If you want to set up your own sect, you can go find an uninhabited world. There aren't many things in the spirit realm now, but there are many such worlds. Holy venerables can do it, and so can holy spirits." Compared to Miao Miao, Qi Yin gave the people another choice. For those who had other ideas, this was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity. Since the ancestor said so, he would definitely protect everyone. There weren't many people in Xiongqi's clan, especially those with the direct bloodline, so they didn't have much choice and directly took them away. As for the other bloodlines, they could develop as they wished. The eight-headed demon had the most people, but there weren't many direct bloodlines like him, so he only took a part. It was unknown whether or not they had come to an agreement, but they all brought their clansmen back to Zichin's Tianwu world. With Zichin's repeated breakthroughs, the Tianwu world was large enough to accommodate these demons. Miao Miao was the first to return. She immediately disturbed Zichun, who was refining Black Peak, and asked for a piece of land. Zichun told Jono, so Jono set aside a tree city. With a wave of Miao Miao's sleeve, all the fox demons entered the tree city. From now on, this will be your new home. As for what you have to abide by, someone will tell you. After leaving this sentence, Miao Miao didn't care anymore. Not long after, Qi Yin, the eight-headed demon, and Xiongqi returned. Jono gave 3 more tree cities to everyone. The 2 old men had been paying attention to the development of the matter. It was time for them to go to work, but for some reason, they were still hesitating. They seemed to be waiting for something. The spirit realm was developing comprehensively. During this period, they had to familiarize themselves with the addition of gods, demons, and demons. Among them, the demons were the most powerful. Secret lands opened one after another as the world's rules were completed. The people of the 4 clans entered together to explore. Naturally, there were killings. This kind of killing was within the scope of the agreement. No one else was allowed to interfere. It was completely based on who had the strongest combat power was qualified to obtain resources. During this period, some heroes were born from the 4 clans. Under the situation where the strongest did not move, the younger generation of the 4 clans began to compete with each other. During this period, they were not much weaker than the others. Just as the Saint Spirit realm was gradually stabilizing, another secret land appeared out of thin air. This secret land was Gushan's world back then. Finally, with the gradual completion of the world's rules, it appeared again. Chapter 4850. With the arrival of the kings, the entire spiritual realm seemed to be engulfed in a demonic storm. A powerful aura surged. The spiritual realm, which was originally peaceful, was now in chaos. Many people stood in the void and observed the abnormality. A huge gap appeared in the void. From the gap, a world star slowly descended. It was a new world. The moment the world descended, 4 huge figures appeared and guarded the 4 corners of the world. Meiji, who do you think you are? You still want to seal us after so many years? Angry voices spread throughout the Saint Spirit realm in an instant. Then, a few more huge figures appeared and the 2 sides began a huge battle. No one knew what the result of the battle was. In short, the void was in chaos. Countless blood splattered. It was the blood of the demons. However, no one dared to go near it because the commotion was too big. The unstable void almost sank. It was just a planet, but the commotion it caused was not any smaller than when the demons descended. Even many demons were dumbfounded. They did not know where it came from. When Ziqian heard the commotion and rushed there, the world of the planet had already stabilized in the void. The surrounding energy was still in a state of chaos. He wore a cloak and passed through the chaotic energy. He entered the familiar world. This was a different world. However, there was no distinction between the inside and the outside. The entire world was in ruins and filled with a thick smell of blood. Miao Miao stood beside Ziqian. She could feel her master's mood getting worse. Meiji was gone. The other three huge figures had also disappeared. The outer region where Ziqian had gone through the trial was now a river of blood. The people that belonged to them were almost all slaughtered. In the original world, the 18 kings and the High King had also disappeared. Only a few ordinary beings were left. However, they still had the strength of a sacred master. Ziqian descended and arrived at the Gedon Kingdom. The Gedon King was killed by Ziqian. The furless fox butler was directing everyone to clean up the aftermath. There were many Gedon people, but there were no demons. Ziqian descended from the sky and gave the butler a shock. He almost squatted on the ground. What happened here? Ziqian's voice was cold, and the fox butler couldn't help but tremble. Meeting Ziqian's cold gaze, it used a trembling voice to tell him everything that had happened. After Ziqian killed King Gaduin and left, this area had become an ownerless land. When King Giching returned, he naturally occupied this place. After conquering this place, King Guqing began to expand outwards. Relying on the weapons left behind by Gashan, he destroyed the area under the tree, flattened the area under the light fragrance, killed Fengling who had once given the devil ape the stone staff, and cleared the river. Back then, those who were related to Ziqian in the periphery were all implicated. Even the underground rats were wiped out. The butler fox, who had a grudge with Ziqian, did not receive any special treatment. Instead, he was constantly abused, to the point that he became a bald fox. Ziqian's eyes were burning with anger. "Why aren't you leaving?" Ziqian asked as he looked at the messy area. "This is my home. Where can I go?" The fox butler smiled bitterly. "They don't want this home anymore, but I still want it. I live here. I'm not going anywhere." All the kings had left. The moment the world descended, they all left. The previous battle should have been stopped by the four beasts. As for the specifics, Ziqian came late and did not see it. Their auras have almost disappeared. They're either dead or hiding. Miao Miao, who was standing next to Ziqian, suddenly exclaimed, "There's one here, but his aura is a little strange. Let's go and take a look." The two figures immediately disappeared. When they reappeared, they were outside a castle. A man was sitting on the ground, leaning against the castle and drinking. He looked very sloppy with disheveled hair and a dirty face. Ziqian sensed the other party's identity through his aura and said in surprise, "Why are you here?" The sloppy man sitting there drinking was none other than the former King 18. He had a guardian of the laws under him called Shangling. Among the kings, Ziqian had a good impression of him because he still cared about Shangling's life. The man looked up at Ziqian, and his turbid eyes changed. "Where is Shangling?" Ziqian asked. He had released his perception earlier, but he did not find Shangling's aura. There was a touch of pain in the man's eyes, but his tone was very calm. "Dead." "What? Dead?" Ziqian's expression changed. "Shangling is a guardian of the laws. How could she be dead? Who could kill her?" Shangling was a guardian of the laws. After Ziqian left, she was the only guardian. Who could kill a guardian of the laws of a world? "I can't kill one person, but what about a group of people?" The former king laughed. "It's good that she's dead. She won't have to be tortured if she's dead." "Haha, that's good." Looking at the strange man, Ziqian flew into a rage. He immediately stepped forward and grabbed the man's collar. "Then why didn't you help? Don't you care?" Because of the strong shaking, the man's collar fell apart, revealing the body underneath. Ziqian could no longer say the rest of his words. because under the clothes was a skeleton without any flesh. Everything was normal except for the clothes. Zichen put down the man, and there was a touch of horror in his eyes. What's going on? You're one of the 18 kings. How can this be? So what if I'm a king? Aren't there still kings in this world? The man threw away the empty wine pot in his hand and said in a daze, right here, right in this castle, I can only watch Ling be humiliated. It's true that I created her, but I've never treated her as a tool. She's like my daughter. I've watched her grow. He seemed to want to cry, but there were no tears left. A king of a generation had fallen to such a state. Zichun could vaguely see a scene. His eyes immediately turned cold and murderous intent surged in them. Before Ling died, she was still shouting your name. She wanted me to tell you that she has always been grateful to you. If it wasn't for you, she might have died in the last elimination battle. She was very satisfied to be able to live a little longer than the others. The man looked at Zichun and laughed. I know that was their final madness. I also know that this world will eventually break the seal, so I want to live. Zichun clenched his fists, and his body trembled. I want to live until now to tell you the truth. I don't have the ability to take revenge. I hope that you can help me, seeing that you and Shang Ling have traveled together. So, please. The smile on the former king's face froze, and his aura dissipated. He was dead. Chapter 48:51. Even if I have to hide to the ends of the world, I will find you and kill you. Zichen took one last look at this world before turning around and leaving. His cloak fluttered in the wind. Miao Miao silently followed him. She had never felt such a strong killing intent from her young master. Outside the world, Zichun looked at the boundless void. The tracks he left behind earlier had already disappeared. The Saint Spirit realm was very big, infinitely big. How could it be easy to find someone who was deliberately hiding? You can go back. I will go on my own. Energy flashed around Zichun. The cloak left his body and turned into Xue Shang's appearance. She was worried about Zichen's current state. Young master, let Xue Shang follow you. Miao Miao knew that Zichun was in a bad mood, so she didn't try to dissuade him. In fact, it was unwise to attack now. No need. I can protect myself. Go back and tell them that I have given everyone their freedom. 4 black stone mountains appeared in front of Zichun. They were the size of a palm and revolved around his body. At this moment, the 8 heads and the others had all obtained their freedom. They were free to fly in the sky. They were no longer restrained. But the world is so big. How long will young master need to find them? Why don't we go back first and discuss with Qi Yin and the others before acting together? We have many people, so it will be easy to find them. If it really doesn't work, we can ask the other beast clans for help. Miao Miao said, as long as they are still in the Saint Spirit realm, they won't be able to escape. This will alert the enemy. I'm guessing that they've all gone into hiding. Zichun gazed into the distance. This will be my last life and death trial. If I die, please take care of my world. When you go back, tell Mingyao not to come out until she reaches the demon realm. Also, thank you. Zichen's figure turned into a ray of light and flew away. It was the opposite direction he came from. Those beast clans should have run in this direction. Miao Miao and Xue Shang stared at Zichen's back, speechless for a long time. After a while, Xue Shang said, should I follow him silently? Miao Miao shook her head. No need. Young master has the protection of the 4 mountains. It shouldn't be a problem to stay alive. Let's go back first to prevent those guys from coming. The huge commotion disappeared, and the Saint Spirit world fell into a peaceful atmosphere again. No one dared to approach that new world, so naturally, no one knew what had happened. The once famous Zichen seemed to have gone into seclusion, which made the world less lively. Han Nu left the Tianwu world according to her agreement with Zichun. She went to the immortal realm to investigate the situation. When she entered the god realm, she was wearing a blood-red cloak. Ba Shou knew that he had regained his freedom. At first, he was very unrestrained and even wanted to find Zichun to spar. However, Zichun still hadn't returned. His unrestrained mood gradually faded, and he actually felt a little depressed. In a very remote world, the master was only an 8-star holy spirit. In the era before the Great Turmoil, This level was very impressive. However, the turmoil had been going on for many years. Even the demons had descended. A mere 8-star Holy Spirit was nothing. In a restaurant, a bearded man was eating heartily. The other party's table manners were extremely unsightly, causing a huge commotion. Beside him, there were dozens of empty wine jars. He seemed to be a big customer. Not far away, the waiter and the shopkeeper didn't feel happy at all. Instead, they were terrified. After eating, the bearded man wiped his mouth with his hand, looked back at the shopkeeper, and asked, "Do I have to pay?" "No, no, no." The shopkeeper quickly shook his head and gestured with his hands. "At least you know what's good for you." The bearded man laughed. In fact, he wasn't tall. He wasn't even as tall as an ordinary person, but his body was extremely sturdy. Previously, because a waiter reacted too slowly, he was slapped to death. This place is still the best. It's simply heaven. After walking out of the restaurant, the bearded man's eyes swept around as if he was looking for something. This is life. Not only are there delicious food, but there are also beauties. It's 100 times, 1,000 times better than those transformed by those slutty foxes. The other party's eyes suddenly lit up because he saw a beauty. He laughed loudly and walked forward. It was as if a storm had suddenly appeared on the street. One passerby after another was blown away by the storm. Some of them were cut in half in midair. Some of them were lucky and were unharmed in the air, but heavily injured when they landed. The buildings on both sides were shaken and began to collapse, including the restaurant from before. Miserable screams rang out incessantly. With the beautiful woman as the center, the area within 1,000 zhang radius was instantly turned into ruins. This 1-star Holy Spirit realm woman's face was deathly pale. She didn't know what had happened. The bearded man approached and smiled at the woman, revealing sharp and ugly teeth. His 2 hands landed on the woman's body. Following a wave of energy, the woman's decent protective gear immediately shattered. Her body was completely exposed in front of him. The bearded man leaned forward and pressed down. He was about to push the woman to the ground. The woman cried out in fear. Her Holy Spirit chi surged. "Hee, it's useless." The bearded man laughed. He didn't care about the environment. As for the woman's struggle, it was useless. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. A palm appeared in front of the bearded man's eyes, blocking his vision. Just as his expression changed slightly, the palm landed on his face. Then, a powerful force pushed his body back. With a loud bang, a huge ripple spread out. A deep hole appeared on the ground in front of the woman. The deep hole was filled with cracks. Just as the change occurred, a ray of light fell on the woman's body and turned into a dazzling golden dress. The woman was still in shock. She stared blankly ahead. There stood a man in black. She couldn't see his face, only his tall back. "Who's the busybody? Do you want to die?" A loud shout rang out from the bearded man's mouth, and a violent demonic aura surged out from him. The world began to tremble, as if it would collapse at any time. The man in front of her was also pushed back by the demonic aura. He was only a saint venerable. He couldn't resist the demonic aura. On this planet, all existences that sensed the demonic aura trembled. It was as if they felt the end of the world. The demon stood up and looked at the young man in front of him. He said angrily, "Because you're a busybody, I'm going to destroy this world." The young man replied indifferently, "Since you're here, you have to follow the rules. If you don't, you have to die." The demon smiled disdainfully. "You're just a saint venerable?" Suddenly, a huge black rock appeared in the sky and fell down on the evil demon. The demon roared and punched at the black rock. The black rock trembled and flew into the sky. The young man's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of the demon. He stabbed his sword into the demon's heart. So, to avoid being targeted, it was better for him to leave as soon as possible. As for those saint venerables who came and fought to the death for that corpse, he did not even think about whether he could obtain any benefits through the laws of this world. In a short half a month, many saint venerables from the 4 races gathered here. The first thing they did when they arrived was to ask about the battle that day. When they learned that a saint venerate used only one move to kill an evil demon, everyone was shocked. However, they all guessed where this spirit's disciplinarian called Long Sha came from. In the current world, there was a rumor that only the extremely famous Zichun from the Tianwu world could do this. However, this was just a guess. Zichun had not defeated an evil demon in public before. The reason why he resolved the spirit race's crisis was because of the fiend race evil demons by his side. Furthermore, that Lord Long Sha was currently in closed-door cultivation, trying to break through to the evil demon grade. He could not be wandering around. Even more Saint Venerables arrived. However, they did not make a move. Naturally, they were worried that that expert, who was here to intimidate, would suddenly return. About 1 month later, those Saint Venerables could no longer sit still. This was because the evil demons might come after hearing the news. At that time, they would not be able to obtain such good things. On a certain day, the holy venerates all gathered around the ruins that had not been dealt with yet. After everyone appeared, they kept their guard up against each other. However, they still did not make a move. A bunch of cowards. The spoils of war are here. Even if I gave you the guts, you wouldn't dare to take them. A cold laugh rang out. Then, a tyrannical aura appeared. More than 10 people approached from afar. Demonic energy surged around them. Naturally, they were from the fiend race. The man in the lead wore a black robe. When he got close, he glanced at the evil demon kneeling in the sky as if he was repenting. It has been so long. Even if you are repenting, it is enough. If you don't have the guts, then this evil demon's body will belong to my bear race. After saying that, the man leaped forward. He looked like a reckless person. However, when he was about to reach the evil demon, his figure suddenly changed. He was in his true form. His figure was close to 300 meters tall. Compared to his huge body, a mere evil demon skeleton was nothing. He laughed loudly and stretched his bare paw forward. The others watched this scene cautiously. When the bare paw approached and touched the evil demon's body, there was no abnormality. The big bear said with a disdainful expression. Just at this moment, ripples suddenly appeared around the evil demon. Then, a whirlpool appeared out of nowhere and instantly dragged the big bear into it. The big bear let out a startled cry. However, that was all. The evil demon only struggled a few times before it disappeared. Such a scene caused the expressions of the surrounding people to change. They subconsciously retreated. Big brother. Among the crowd, there was a man who looked very similar to the man from before. He shouted and rushed forward as well. Chapter 48:53. Before the palm strike approached the demon, it was blocked by a strange energy and slowly disappeared. When the palm strike landed on the demon's body, it did not hurt or itch, not threatening at all. That holy venerate's expression changed. He gritted his teeth and said, "Since that is the case, then come over here." He exerted force again, and the bare paw turned into a claw, wanting to grab the demon's body from a distance. Just at this moment, the whirlpool that disappeared earlier reappeared, covering the bear's arm. Buzz! A beam of light appeared before the bear, and it decisively cut off its arm. After swallowing the severed arm, the whirlpool disappeared. The other holy venerates' expressions changed again. They secretly rejoiced that they did not act rashly. However, they did not understand why it turned out like this. Was there a protective array around the demon's body? It did not look like it. Was someone hiding it? It did not look like it either. For a time, no one dared to rush forward. Occasionally, they would look at the rash fiends with some schadenfreude. They had caused quite a commotion when they came. Unexpectedly, they instantly lost 2 holy venerates. The bear race holy venerate who lost his arm paled somewhat. Earlier, it was not as simple as just losing his arm. That devouring force was extremely terrifying, as if it wanted to devour his soul from a distance. "How is it?" a fiend at the side asked. "Something is strange. We cannot get closer. Try to see if we can attack from a distance," the bear race holy venerate who lost his arm said. The other holy venerates started to attack from a distance. Even if they could not take away the demon's body, they could still tear it apart from a distance. This mountain demon that Zichun killed with one strike definitely did not expect that he, who was once unparalleled in the world, would end up in such a state. The group of insignificant holy venerates in his eyes wanted to tear his corpse into many pieces. Many attacks whistled forward. They were not just fiends, but also some magic skills of the other three races. However, no matter how strong those attacks were, once they reached the demon, they would naturally disappear. I'll do it. A wolf image sucked at the demon from a distance. This was a kind of innate magic skill, trying to swallow the demon from a distance. However, it was useless. Before the wolf could get close, a shield-like method blocked the attack. Some people were unconvinced and tried to approach the demon's body again. However, as soon as they got close, the vortex appeared again, and they could only cut off their arms to survive. After a quarter of an hour of continuous attacks, no one dared to step forward anymore. All the Saint Venerables stood in the distance and watched with unwillingness in their hearts. The atmosphere became silent. After a while, one of the demons said unwillingly, "There is only one whirlpool. If we go all out, I believe we will succeed." Of course, no one responded, because even if there was only one vortex, there was still a probability problem. No one was willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of others. What's more, this was just a guess. If there were many vortexes, wouldn't everyone die? Just as they didn't know what to do next, a powerful aura suddenly descended. This was the aura of a demon. When the holy venerates felt this aura, their expressions changed drastically. Then, they all felt frustrated. Clearly, with the arrival of the evil demon, it was impossible for them to lay their hands on this corpse. The evil demon that descended was not tall and looked similar to the one kneeling on the ground. It might be the brother or sister of that person. After the other party descended, the evil demon's power was released and instantly shrouded the planet. Then, a cold voice resounded in the world. "How dare you kill my people? Everyone must die." The evil demon was angry at all the living beings here. "Sir, this is a misunderstanding. Immediately, a holy venerate said, "We didn't kill them. We were just passing by." "Even if you were passing by, you must die." The evil demon's eyes were cold. He slapped down, and the holy venerate who spoke turned into a mist of blood. This was the difference between them. When the other holy venerables saw this, they immediately scattered in fear. The Gashan evil demon walked forward and reached the ruins in just a few steps. He looked at his companion kneeling in the sky and said coldly, "Brother, I will let all the living beings in this world die with you." He flew up and headed toward the dead evil demon. When the holy venerables who scattered in fear saw this, their eyes lit up. If that whirlpool could swallow the evil demon, the crisis would be resolved. At that moment, everyone was looking forward to it. Just as the evil demon approached, the whirlpool really appeared. Many holy venerables almost exclaimed in excitement. However, in the next moment, the Gashan evil demon smashed the whirlpool with a punch and approached his brother. Everyone was in despair again. It was just a spell and not the evil demon's real body. Disappointment filled the holy venerables' hearts. More people wanted to take the opportunity to escape. However, just as they approached the edge of the world, attacks fell from the sky and landed on them. In a short time, there were many casualties. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful aura came from the front. The evil demon who had just approached was instantly sent flying by a powerful force. At the same time, a huge creature appeared. The evil demon looked like a bug, but its body was more than 10,000 feet. It had a mouth but no legs, and it was releasing the aura of an evil demon. There was actually an evil demon hiding here. Everyone was shocked, and hope reignited in their hearts. "It's you, little thing?" The Gashan evil demon who was retreating looked at the huge creature in the sky coldly. "How dare you kill my brother? I will eat you. You half-beast. How dare you look down on me?" The evil demon in the sky looked down at the Gashan evil demon with a tyrannical gaze. It was the evil demon king, who had once indirectly controlled an existence of the holy race. Even in Gashan's era, he was an incredible figure. How could he not be angry when he was looked down on by a mere Gashan evil demon? Of course, it was mainly because he had broken through. If it was when he had met Zichun, he might not have dared to speak to an evil demon in such a tone. "Die." Two rays of light shot out from the evil demon king's eyes and went straight for the Gashan evil demon. The Gashan evil demon raised his hand to block. Evil demon energy filled his body, and the rays of light were not blocked. They entered his body. Then, he stood there as if he had lost his mind and did not move at all. The evil demon king in the sky laughed in disdain. He turned around and sucked in the evil demon's corpse. The pure energy that belonged to the evil demon was completely absorbed. "You little things dare to snatch something from me?" Looking around at the sacred venerables, the evil demon king's expression was disdainful. Then, his body began to shrink until it was the size of a finger. He flew toward the motionless Gashan evil demon below. Everyone was shocked by the ease with which he dealt with a demon-level existence. However, in the next moment, a sharp light appeared and went straight for the evil demon king. This was the second evil demon's aura. Help. Chapter 48:54. The demon king's cry for help spread far and wide. His voice was shrill and sharp. Those who didn't know would think that he had suffered some kind of serious injury. In fact, the second attack that suddenly appeared didn't hurt him at all. The group of Saint Venerables originally had hope, but with the appearance of the second demon, their hope was shattered. It was another Gushan demon. He held a bamboo blade in his hand and descended from the sky. The demon that was controlled earlier also came back to his senses. After knowing what had happened, he immediately became furious. "Evil demon, you're courting death." He slapped out his palm in the air, and the palm print filled the world. If the world hadn't been sealed by energy, it might have collapsed. The demon king's body smashed into the ground. A huge crater appeared on the ground, and many buildings collapsed. Fortunately, everyone had escaped. Otherwise, who knew how many people would have been smashed to death by the demon king's smash? The Saint Venerables didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The demon ate half of the palm print just now. It fell because the other half hit its body. The demon king flew up again, but he was still unharmed. He stared at the two demons below. "Is that all you two have? Humph, then I won't fight with you." Seeing this, the two demons looked at each other and flew forward at the same time. The demon king quickly retreated and shouted, "Do you know the rules? I already said that I won't fight with you. You have other enemies." Seeing that the two existences still didn't stop, the demon king could only shout again, "Lord, save me." The Saint Venerables were speechless. What was going on? Where was the dignity of a demon realm expert? Suddenly, the entire space sank, as if the world had sunk a little. A black dot in the sky quickly descended, heading straight for one of the demons. A whistling sound resounded throughout the world, and a terrifying pressure descended. The two immediately abandoned the demon king and attacked the sky at the same time. The falling black light was stopped. It was actually a large black stone. It kept spinning in the sky and could no longer continue to fall. Even with the two demons working together, they still felt quite a bit of pressure. "Is it that Saint Venerable called Longsha?" A Saint Venerable muttered in his heart. At this moment, a figure appeared out of thin air. Like a stream of light, he charged toward a demon. He held a sword in his hand, and his expression was cold. Seeing this, the two demons immediately attacked with all their might, wanting to send the black stone flying. At this moment, another black stone fell from the sky, and under the double stacking, the two demons fell to the ground. At this moment, a light appeared. A bright sword light appeared in this world. The sword light swept past the bodies of the two demons and instantly cut them in half. The sword light disappeared into the horizon. The young Saint Venerable put away his sword and stood there. The two black stones flew to his side and revolved around his body. The demonic pressure that shrouded this world disappeared. Everyone was stunned and looked at the Saint Venerable in the sky in disbelief. Two world-destroying demons were killed just like that? Fortunately, my lord came in time. Otherwise, I would have been in danger. Monster Refining King quickly approached. He transformed into his normal size and stood beside Zi-Chan with a fawning expression, flattering him. This made the group of heavenly deities feel dizzy. Was this really a demon? No matter how he looked at it, it looked like a lackey. The corpses of the two demons fell to the ground, and blood flowed out. The eyes of the nearby Saint Venerables flashed. Who wouldn't want such good things? Come out. What's the point of being secretive? Zichun, who changed his name to Longsha, looked in a certain direction. Although your realm isn't high, your senses are still quite sharp. A calm voice sounded, and a person walked out from the darkness. I didn't expect to meet such a strange person in this place. Zichun looked at the man in front of him. His expression didn't change at all. He said, "Who are you?" Even though he had seen him before. This was one of the 18 kings back then, an existence with strong combat strength. Monster Refining King seemed to have sensed the danger. His body expanded again and stood behind Zichun. This 18 king smiled and said, "Who I am is not important. What's important is that you wanted to lure me out, so I came out. But speaking of which, you are a bit like an old friend of mine." Zichun didn't say anything, and he frowned. "Why? You feel the pressure already? This doesn't seem like the old friend I know. He's more daring than you." The other party smiled faintly and walked forward slowly. Then, a few more rays of light appeared. They were all Gashan people, and they were all demons. There were a total of 5 of them. "Good fellow, we've played big this time." Monster Refining King sighed. His eyes started to look around, as if he was looking for a way to escape. Zichun waved his hand, and the 2 dead demons and the blood on the ground all flew towards him. The other Saint Venerables felt melancholy when they saw the demon's opportunity disappear. The king noticed the Saint Venerables' expressions and was amused. "You guys are quite careless. You're still thinking about resources at this time. Shouldn't you be worried about your lives?" Only then did the Saint Venerables realize that the person who came wanted to kill them. "You want to lure us out. I don't care if you want money or fame. Since we've appeared, we naturally have to tell the world that the Gashan race is going to rise." The other party smiled coldly. "The 4 races of the spirit world, right? Sorry, from now on, there will be an extra Gashan race. Or perhaps, at some point in the future, the spirit world will only have Gashan race." It turned out that these demons from another world had divided themselves into the Gashan race. This was quite interesting. Zichun was not nervous. Instead, he was secretly delighted. It was just a casual move. He did not expect that he would attract such a big fish. He wanted to kill these Gashan demons, but his real goal was the dozen or so kings, including the last Saint Venerable King. This world was once again sealed by power. However, it was no longer the power of an ordinary demon, but the power of a king. "So, after talking so much nonsense, let's start now?" The king smiled at Zichun. "You choose a way to die first?" "Bullshit. How can my lord die? I'll kill you first." Monster Refining King's body swelled again, and then he quickly rushed towards one of the Gashan demons. He said the most unyielding words, but the target he chose was the one with the weakest aura. The other party obviously did not fall for it. The moment he attacked, 2 Gashan demons joined hands. "Shameless. 2 against 1. What realm are you from? Are you also shameless?" With a loud bang, Monster Refining King was sent flying by the combined force of the 2. At this moment, Zichun made his move. The 2 black stones whistled as they charged forward. Another 2 Gashan demons walked out and blocked the path of the black stones. Chapter 48:55. Heaven and earth shook as the Hillman demon punched. The entire space was distorted. Even with the suppression of the king's power, cracks still appeared in the surroundings. These cracks quickly healed after they appeared, and the process repeated. As soon as Zichun appeared, he saw the punch coming at him. He could only block it with his sword. Bang! As the punch landed, vibrating ripples spread out in all directions, and Zichun's body slid backward. The king did not make a move. He stood in the distance and said, "The reason why your methods are so brilliant is that you rely on sharp weapons to catch your opponent off guard. Once you know your methods, you will only be a sacred venerable in a head-on confrontation." There was a confident smile on his face. A mere sacred venerable was not enough for him to join forces with the 5 demons to attack together. The subordinates who came here with him punched with both fists. This time, the attack was even more ferocious, and it was almost completely locked onto Zichun. Zichun was retreating, but he could not avoid it. Boom! The fist light landed in front of him and sent him flying again. The king shook his head. This was boring. He thought that he could still struggle a few more times. Suddenly, something strange happened. A black dot appeared in the sky, and a third black stone appeared. The black stone's element of surprise was fatal. The king's expression changed, and he wanted to help, but it was too late. The Hillman demon was caught off guard. The moment he staggered, Zichun came over with his sword and slashed down. Under such a divine weapon, the Hillman demon, who could not react at all, was beheaded. Damn it! The king cursed, but his eyes were fixed on the sword. It doesn't seem to be weaker than Gu Qing's sword. My luck is not bad this time. He was ready to make a move because the other party had 3 black stones. It was very disadvantageous for the other Hillman demons. However, just as he moved, Zichun disappeared in the air. In the next moment, he swung his sword twice and killed the 2 Gushan people one after another. The king was slightly stunned. Only then did he see that there were a total of 4 black stones. As a result, only 2 of the subordinates he had brought were left. Fortunately, 2 against 1. The 2 of them obviously had the upper hand. King's face gradually turned gloomy as he ascended step by step. The other creatures in this world were dumbfounded. This was too exciting. A mere holy venerate was killing evil demons as easily as cutting melons and cutting grass. It's that sword. That's an amazing weapon. It's too sharp. It's not just him. Everyone who wields it has such power. A saint sovereign murmured as he looked at the sword in Zichun's hand. His eyes were filled with envy. If he had the same weapon, he would be the one standing in the sky and receiving all the attention. King came to stand in front of Zichun. Zichun summoned 4 black stones and placed them in 4 directions, surrounding the 2 of them. You sure have hidden yourself well. King sneered and unleashed the pressure around him. Zichun held his long sword horizontally and blocked the pressure with his murderous aura. Then he said, "It's not convenient to fight here. Let's fight outside." After saying that, the 4 black stones began to spin at high speed, forming an absolute space. The next moment, the 2 of them disappeared from this world. The pressure that belonged to King disappeared once again. The holy venerates were saved once again. However, they were not thinking of escaping immediately. Instead, they looked at the dead evil demons with flickering eyes. You bunch of idiots, you really won't cry until you see the coffin. Do you really have to be killed before you can feel at ease? The voice of Demon Refinement King came from the sky. He, who was originally being chased by the 2 mountain evil demons, suddenly turned around. His body once again expanded by 10 times. Feeling the even more berserk aura, the expressions of the 2 evil demons changed. Then, a terrifying aura attacked. Demon Refinement King opened his mouth and swallowed the 2 mountain evil demons. When the holy venerates saw this scene, their eyes widened. Could it be that this guy was also pretending to be weak? Back then, even Gushan couldn't find me. Do you really think I'm made of mud? Demon Refinement King quickly approached and collected the corpses of the evil demons killed by Zichun. Along the way, he also killed a few bold holy venerates. He did not care which camp the other party was from. He killed them all. In the sky, Zichun and King were surrounded by 4 stones. They were in a unique space. A battle of life and death. Zichun held the long sword in his hand and looked at the king. He said coldly, "Whoever lives will get out." Do you even need to say that? Of course, this king will live. The king from Gushan realm sneered. A huge phantom appeared behind him. It was an eagle. Its eagle eyes were extremely sharp as it stared at Zichun. Zichun felt a piercing pain in front of his eyes and subconsciously closed them. You think you'll be fine just by closing your eyes? This is this king's innate divine ability. It specializes in attacking the soul. If you have other methods, you might be able to survive. However, if you only rely on these external objects, you will definitely die. A real attack flew out from the eagle eyes. Like 2 sharp swords, it ignored Zichun's defense and directly entered Zichun's sea of consciousness. The soul attack of the evil demons was truly extraordinary. Blood immediately flowed out of Zichun's 7 orifices, but his closed eyes slowly opened. Tears of blood flowed out. King, who had been calm and confident, was shocked. He cried out involuntarily, "Impossible! You're just a saint venerable. How can you block my innate divine ability?" If it were anyone else, they might not be able to block it. However, Zichen's soul was known as the strongest soul in the world. Even if there was a gap of one level between them, he still managed to block the attack. Again, King seemed to sense that Zichen's condition was not right. He attacked again. This time, he used 2 attacks in a row. The giant eagle phantom behind him clearly dimmed. If he attacked too many times like this, the consumption of his soul would be enormous. Zichen's body was on the verge of collapse. More blood flowed out of his 7 orifices, but he still stood. King was shocked. He had to admit that his opponent had a soul as strong as his. He began to look at his opponent. "Your attack is over. It's my turn." Zichen raised his arm and wiped the blood from his eyes. "I have one move, and only one move. If you don't die, then I will." After saying that, he waved his hand. The stones around him changed and turned into real stone peaks that stood there. Looking at these peaks, King's expression changed. He seemed to have thought of something. Zichen held the sword with both hands. The surging energy in his body poured into the long sword. At this moment, he no longer hid his aura. His power attribute was fully revealed. Golden lightning enveloped the long sword. King's eyes widened in disbelief. Under the full force of Zichen's power, the long sword in his hand changed into a saber. There was a hint of fear in King's eyes. He exclaimed, "Flowing saber, you're Zichen." Buzz. Zichen drew his saber. Chapter 48:56. The mountain chopping technique came from Gushan. When he taught him this move, he used a demon-level demon to personally demonstrate it. Zichen had a deep impression of that move and had been studying it. Today, he finally used it. Not only did the 4 mountains seal the space, but they also suppressed the king's energy, making him unable to unleash his true strength. When they were still rocks, they would form a kind of suppression, but it was not strong. Now, as the power of the 4 mountains was fully displayed, the extremely strong pressure made it impossible for the king to unleash his true strength. Therefore, when facing this mountain chopping technique, he naturally could not resist it with his full strength. The blade light swept past the king's body and dissipated behind him. A bloody mark appeared between the king's brows. His eyes were still filled with fear, and his expression was frozen. "You are the first, but you will definitely not be the last." Zichen stared at the king in front of him. "Wait patiently. The other kings will accompany you, including the honorable king." The king's body collapsed with a bang. Zichen removed the black stone peak and stood indifferently in the void. Only then did the holy venerables who had escaped from the world see Zichen's figure. Of course, he was Langsha now. He glanced at the ground below, and then his figure went far away. "Sir, wait for me." King Transmute Demon followed, his body becoming smaller and smaller. The holy venerables who had been in danger looked at each other. Where was the demon leader? Did he leave? Or did he die? There was not even a drop of blood in the void, which caused many guesses. But it had to be said that Langsha's methods shocked them. Even if only one demon died, it was a big deal for the Saint Spirit world. Because demons were the peak combat strength, they were very difficult to kill, let alone several demons being killed together. This newly promoted Langsha was being watched by many forces. Many people were very curious about the level of the black stone and long sword, and where did he get them? When the news reached the Tianwu world, Miao Miao was finally relieved. She had been very worried because there had been no news of the young master. Since the young master could kill a king, he should be able to master the 4 mountains. Coupled with the flowing knife, he should be able to survive. Then there was no need for her to do anything. In a deserted world, a bonfire was burning, and the dry branches were crackling. Zichen was roasting meat over a fire. It had been a long time since he had experienced this kind of experiential training. Soon, the aroma of meat filled the air. A ray of light descended from the sky and transformed into a man. He wore a red robe and arrived in front of Zichen. "Sir, we've discovered another Grashman demon nearby." Zichen nodded and gave half of the barbecued meat to the man. The man was the monster transmutation king. As Zichen continued to kill and refine the demonic energy, he had long since advanced. Last time, he had even fought one against two. A complete victory. After eating, Zichen took out a drop of blood. This was the essence blood of a demon. After being refined many times, it was extremely pure. Zichen began to absorb the energy within and used it to temper his body. In order to become an evil demon, the physical body was also extremely important. This could be seen from the demons that Zichen had killed. The bones of each demon could be used to refine weapons, and they were all extraordinary. The monster transmutation king stood at the side and silently protected Zichen. In the past, he might have had some thoughts, but after interacting with Zichen, he dispelled those thoughts. This was because even if he rebelled, he might not be able to gain any benefits. He might even be suppressed. With the 4 mountains and the flowing knife, almost no one could kill Zichen. The most important thing was that Zichen's foundation was too solid. His essence, energy, and soul were all top-notch. If it was a normal Saint Venerable, even with these things, they would be killed. After Zichen finished refining the blood, he started to raise his energy. He didn't seem to be in a hurry to kill that demon. A few hours later, Zichen finished refining the energy and opened his eyes. Let's go and take a look. The two of them changed their appearances and followed the Grey Hill person. The other party didn't know that they were being watched and want to eat some things. After releasing a powerful aura, no one dared to take money or kill anyone. Afterward, they left this world and went to another world. In the next few days, Zichen and the Monster Transmutation King followed the other party. He had never revealed his evil demon realm strength, and he was still suppressed. Just as Zichen suspected that the other party was a lone traveler, the other party came to a relatively ordinary world. There were not many people here, and the world was in a dilapidated state. There were very few humans here, and even after many years of war, this place had not been affected. After entering this world, Zichen and the Monster Transmutation King found traces of other demons, and there was a king among them. This was the second king that he had found. Zichen and the Monster Transmutation King rushed up, and Zichen used the power of the 4 mountains to chase after those demons. After killing all of the Grey Hill demons, he used the mountain-cutting technique to kill the final king. In this world, cries of terror continuously sounded out because the world was on the verge of collapse. Mountains collapsed, and the ground caved in. It was a scene of apocalypse. The Monster Transmutation King used his magic power to move away all of the living beings. Their realms were too low, and the grade of the world was too low. Chapter 48:57. Floating weapons and armors appeared above their heads. There was no direct connection to the sky, only a sealed space. The 2 old men were stunned. This was completely different from what they remembered. Where are they? The black-robed old man was stunned. Even the space isn't fully opened. Where did they come from? The white-robed old man looked up carefully. The heaven's chosen weapons are all here, and there are more than expected. Why hasn't the sky opened yet? Could it be that they're locked up from above? If what they opened was a door, then there were 2 doors that connected to the immortal spell world. One was controlled by them, and the other came from the immortal spell world. However, from what they knew, it was very difficult to close the door of the immortal spell world. No one had ever closed it before. What happened? Because of Gushan, this space had always been sealed. The 2 weren't the masters here, so they couldn't do anything even if they were anxious. After countless years of waiting, they thought that everything would return to its original path. They didn't expect it to turn out like this. What should we do now? Should we continue? The black-robed old man was very worried. He thought that he was going to start earning contribution points. If someone saw the items in this space, they would be shocked. All the equipment here was of the demon grade, and some were even higher than the average demon grade. Continue. No matter what the result is, let's choose the first person first. The first person was a realm, and also a title. All right. The black-robed old man nodded and sealed this space again. Next, it was time to consider the qualifications. All demons of the spiritual realm, listen up. The first person's test has officially begun. Those who are recognized will receive the heaven's chosen weapon. This voice entered the minds of all the demons. However, many of them didn't know what the heaven's chosen weapon was. As for the first person, many knew. Zichen, who was sitting cross-legged with his back against a large rock, suddenly opened his eyes. Mayne and the monster refinement monarch's expressions shifted at that moment. Their emotions were fluctuating greatly. Heaven's chosen weapon? What's that? Mayne was confused. What? Zichun was even more puzzled by this sudden change of events. I just heard a voice transmission saying that the first person's test has begun. The one who is recognized will receive a heaven's chosen weapon, Mayne said. But what is a heaven's chosen weapon? Zichen looked at the monster refinement king. This was an ancient existence, someone from the same era as Gu Shan. It's a demon-grade weapon, Monster Refinement King said in a deep voice. It's also a weapon from the immortal spell realm. A weapon from the immortal spell world? Zichun was slightly taken aback. Do people from the immortal spell world use demonic weapons? I'm not sure about that. In any case, the source of the weapons is indeed the immortal spell world. The Monster Refinement King glanced at Zichun. My lord, it seems that we have to return. Go back? He hadn't accomplished his goal yet, and he hadn't killed many kings yet. How could he leave now? The test this time is targeted at all demons, including the enemies that my lord has identified. Once they are qualified, all of my lord's advantages will be gone. The Monster Refinement King's expression was serious, because none of those heaven's chosen weapons are weaker than the flowing blade. Gu Shan used the flowing blade for many years. Why did he give it up in the end? It's because he obtained a stronger heaven's chosen weapon, so he didn't need the flowing blade anymore. The reason why Purple Chun, a sacred master, could kill demons was because of Shi Feng and the flowing saber. If they obtain a heaven's chosen weapon, my lord, you'll only be sending yourself to death. The Monster Refinement King reminded him, because heaven's chosen weapon doesn't only include weapons. It also includes defensive armor. Moreover, it's a complete set. With the heaven's chosen armor, you're practically immortal. Without his greatest advantage, Zichun was at most a powerful saint. Mayne was also looking at Zichun. It was unknown what she was thinking. How can I obtain a heaven's chosen weapon? Zichun asked. The Monster Refinement King shook his head. I'm not sure about that. Wait for me for a moment. Zichun stood up. His figure disappeared and returned to the Tianwu world. The two old men knew this the best. As long as they were still in the Tianwu world, Zichun might know. When he came to the Tianwu world, the two old men were still there. Zichun appeared beside the two of them. Why did you suddenly come back? The white-robed old man glanced at Zichun. I want to ask, how can I obtain a heaven's chosen weapon? Zichun asked as he walked closer. Shouldn't you be worried about the grade of the heaven's chosen weapon the most? The black-robed old man asked with a smile. Zichun said, Is it really the same grade as the flowing blade? Almost. Some are even higher grade than the flowing blade. The white-robed old man chuckled and said, But this has nothing to do with you. If you can't become a demon, you can't obtain a heaven's chosen weapon. Zichun clasped his fists and said, Seniors, can you tell me how to obtain a heaven's chosen weapon? The two old men looked at each other and seemed to be communicating with their eyes. The black-robed old man said, Because of some uncertain factors, we are preparing to open up another space. That place involves some secrets of the immortal spell world. The heaven's chosen weapon can only be obtained there. Seeing that Zichun was about to say something, the black-robed old man shook his head and said, Your combat strength is not weak, but you can't enter that place. The demon is a brand new realm. It is very different from the holy sage. In addition, we have a mission, so we can more or less come into contact with some of the secrets of the immortal spell world. Seeing that Zichun was silent, the black-robed old man continued, Actually, this is also beneficial for you. Without the demon's interference, you can cultivate in peace. In addition, those secret places will be unimpeded for you. Work hard on your cultivation. Only the demon can compete for the final first place. When Zichun left, the white-robed old man smiled mysteriously and said, Other than being the symbol of status, the first place also has a unique reward. Zichun left the two old men and went to find Miao Miao and the others. Seeing that Zichun had returned, they were all very happy. Zichun said some simple things and then quickly left. Not long after, the two old men arranged everything. All demons quickly enter the trial realm. As if there was a special attraction, all the demons in the world were attracted. In an instant, rays of light flew towards the open space. Zichun stood in the void. Mei and the Demon King stood on his left and right. Within those rays of light, there were some familiar figures. Zichun, I know it's you. If you have the ability, come find me in the trial realm. Chapter 48:58. It wasn't hard to guess how many experts there were in the world. There weren't many Saint Venerables who could kill demons, and those who hated the demons of Gushan realm were even rarer. It wasn't surprising that King Geching could guess Zichun's identity, and since he dared to clamor at this time, he naturally didn't fear Zichun. King Geching entered the trial realm, and the other demons also turned into rays of light and followed. That trial realm was very attractive to the demons of the world. The Demon King's eyes gradually burned with passion. To be able to become a demon-level existence, every one of them wanted to become even stronger. The Heaven's chosen weapon was a weapon from the immortal spell world. Naturally, they all wanted to get it. Moreover, there was the title of the first person. Some old antiques have entered, the Demon King suddenly said. He sensed a familiar aura. My mother has also entered, Mei suddenly said, and the Honorable King has also entered. Then, familiar and unfamiliar existences all entered the trial realm. Just as the two old men said, in the next world, when the Saint Venerables were looking for opportunities to break through, the demons would all enter the trial realm. Don't miss such an opportunity. You too should go too. Zichun looked at Mei and the Demon King. All the demons had entered, so there was no need to keep the two of them. His mother had already entered the trial realm, so Mei naturally had to enter as well. The Demon King turned to look at Zichun. When Zichun kept him by his side, he didn't suppress him. At that time, he was still very weak. But now, it was different. Zichun waved his hand and said, "Do more good deeds in the future. Often, an unintentional act of kindness will make this world more beautiful." Mei and the Demon King nodded, and Mei entered the trial realm. "Sir, I promise that I will wait for you in the trial realm." The Demon King cupped his fists at Zichun, then flew away. From now on, no one could suppress him anymore. After watching the two leave, Zichun returned to the Tianwu world. Miao Miao and the others hadn't left yet, but they were already prepared. Chung Ho and Hanu were among them. Chung Ho had broken through a while ago. "Everyone, take care." Zichun cupped his fists at everyone, and everyone returned the greeting. Miao Miao said, "Young master, be careful. We will wait for you in the trial realm." Basho originally wanted to say a few strange words, but he gave up in the end. The atmosphere was somewhat unnatural. After that, everyone left. Without these evil demons, the world seemed to have become a lot more deserted. However, the opening of the trial world also motivated many sacred venerables. They began to search for resources and opportunities to break through and become evil demons. The two old men left and didn't return. The entrance to the trial realm was still there, and it was unknown when it would close. Once he missed this opportunity, he didn't know how long he would have to wait. After all, it had been 2 eras since the last time the number 1 person had been chosen. After the demons left, the holy sage of this world became the absolute ruler of this world. Therefore, they had more space. His friends in Zichun's world also left one after another to seek new opportunities. Zichun didn't leave. He still stayed in his world because at his level, he didn't need any opportunities. After killing many evil demons, including 2 kings, he had obtained too many resources. Right now, he only needed to slowly increase his strength and realm. The development of the world was back on the right track and gradually became lively. Through the previous turmoil, everyone could see that Zichun's Tianwu world was a world that wouldn't fall. No matter how serious the trauma was, it would never decline. It would only become more and more prosperous. A ray of light descended from the sky, ignoring the rules of the world. Luo Chishui landed outside Zichun's residence. He cupped his fists and said, "My lord, Luo Chishui has something to discuss with you." Zichun, who was refining the evil demon's blood, opened his eyes, opened the door, and walked out. What's the matter? Luo Qishui had gone out to train with the monk and the others early in the morning. Luo Qishui said, "We found a world with evil demons' opportunities. Lord Good and Evil ordered me to come back and deliver the news." Zichen waved his hand and said, "You can explore by yourselves. Don't worry about me." Luo Qishui hesitated and said, "Lord Good and Evil didn't ask you to explore. He asked you to guard there." Guard? Zichen was a little puzzled. That place is extraordinary. Lord Good and Evil wanted to guard that place. During this period, he had several battles with the demon clan. Moreover, the other lords also had the same intention. Luo Qishui's explanation wasn't clear, but Zichen understood the meaning behind it. Zichen's Tianwu world had created many holy venerables because of his breakthrough last time. However, this was not the beginning. If a world wanted to develop, it needed more powerhouses. Now that the evil demons were in power, holy venerables were not enough. If he wanted the Tianwu world to last, he had to create more powerhouses. Just like the Lost World back then, it had brought huge benefits to the Holy Thunder Clan and indirectly created many powerhouses. Now that the Tianwu world had become an independent entity, it needed a similar Lost World to obtain many cultivation resources. This way, there would be more powerhouses joining the Tianwu world in the future. At the same time, it could also create local powerhouses. Where is it? Luo Qishui pointed the direction for Zichen. In the next moment, the two of them disappeared. Everyone, get out of the way. This place was discovered by the Demon Clan. From today onwards, only the Demon Clan can enter. As soon as he arrived at the place, Zichen heard a loud voice. It was a holy venerable bear who had revealed his true form. He stood at the entrance of a space and blocked the people of the three clans. In the past, the God Clan and the Demon Clan were also insufferably arrogant. However, after encountering the Demon Clan, they seemed to be at a disadvantage. Zichen didn't see the monk and the others. According to Luo Qishui, everyone had already entered. After discovering that the place was extraordinary, they let him out. There was no doubt that the monk's plan was the same as the big bear's. He wanted to take this place for himself. However, looking at the current situation, it seemed that he couldn't. He walked forward. Along the way, the expressions of the holy venerables changed when they saw Zichen. There were also some holy venerables of the Spirit Clan who seemed to have seen their savior. Their expressions became excited. "Get out or die. I'm talking to you." The big bear roared angrily when it saw that someone was recklessly continuing forward. Zichen looked at the big bear. "Are you serious?" Chapter 48:59. Zichen stood in front of Dexiong. Looking at the arrogant demon, he frowned slightly. "What? You're not convinced?" Dexiong looked at Zichen and said disdainfully, "Do you really think you're invincible? Let me tell you, as long as the Devil Clan exists, you'll never be able to dominate. Without those backing you up, you're just a sacred master." Zichen's face gradually turned cold. He swept his gaze around and said, "Since everyone from the four clans is here today, let's make an announcement. From now on, all small worlds like this will belong to whoever discovers them. You can resell it to each other, but you can't snatch it. Who do you think you are? How dare you?" Before Dexiong could finish his words, a powerful aura fell on him, suppressing him until he couldn't breathe. Feeling Zichen's aura, Dexiong's eyes were filled with fear. "What? Without the demon, you want to bully a sacred master?" After hearing Zichen's name, Dexiong knew what he was capable of. "Come out, or he'll die." Zichen's voice turned cold. There was a hint of killing intent in his eyes. What a big tone. A mocking laugh was heard. A person appeared out of thin air. The moment he appeared, he was accompanied by the demon's aura. There were demons in this world. Buzz. In the sky, a black peak appeared and pressed down on the evil demon without any explanation. The smile on the demon's face froze. It was as if he was facing a great enemy. Sure foam landed on the demon's head. The demon resisted with all his strength, but his face turned ugly. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" Zichen didn't look at the demon. Instead, he looked at Dexiong. Dexiong looked at the demon and was shocked. Zichen really had the strength to fight against the demon. The demon snorted. "So this is what you're capable of. That's all you got. Zichun sighed in disappointment. You Devil Clan do have some foundation, but unfortunately, you don't have brains. As soon as he finished speaking, the second mountain fell. The demon's face changed. He seemed to have thought of something and wanted to cry out. Too late. Zichen's voice rang out as a ray of saber light swept past the body of the demon. Shi Feng flew back, disappearing from Zichen's side. The demon, which had been alive and kicking just a moment ago, was now split in half, its life force extinguished. Look, even if he had some brains, you wouldn't have lost a demon. Zichun sheathed his blade and hooked his finger. The dead demon flew to Zichun and disappeared. I already have a lot of demon resources. I really don't care about one more. I already had the heart to let you go, so why bother? You. Big Bear looked at Zichun and was too shocked to say a word. All of you can scram now. Without my permission, you monsters are not allowed to come here again. After saying this, Zichun sat down cross-legged and continued to refine the evil demon blood. Dexiong and the other Saint Venerables of the demon race had not expected such a result. At this moment, Dexiong was looking at Zichen's back, his eyes flashing. Zichun was unprepared. What if he launched a sneak attack? What were his chances of winning? Scram! Zichen's cold voice sounded again. Dexiong gritted his teeth and did not dare to be presumptuous again. He turned around and left. After he left, the other Saint Venerables of the demon race also left. If they continued to stay here, they might die. The demon race had suffered a great loss this time. They had thought that with the help of the demons, they would be able to obtain all the resources and intimidate the world. They did not expect things to turn out this way. Not only did they lose a demon for nothing, but they also caused the demon race to lose this place completely. The demon race members were unwilling to leave, but the people of the three races were extremely grateful. When they entered, they all bowed to Zichun. Zichun finished refining the last of the blood and opened his eyes. He made a few seals with his hands and communicated with a part of the rules of heaven and earth. Everyone in the spiritual realm, listen up. The resources of the worlds that are discovered later belong to whoever discovers them. They can be sold to each other, but no fighting is allowed. If any race violates the rules, you can look for me in the Tianwu world. I will uphold justice. Of course, if there are similar worlds, you can also look for the Tianwu world. We will give you a reasonable and fair price. Zichen repeated these words 3 times in a row so that everyone could hear them, including the demon race members. Dexiong and the others had already left. When they heard these words, they snorted coldly. Obviously, the Tianwu world also represented a faction and participated in the fight for resources. The future of a place like this would be its foundation. It was impossible for Zichen to occupy this place for himself after chasing away the Yao clan. He had only stayed here for a month before returning to his own territory. This place was open to the 3 races. He did not have much energy to guard this open place. If the demon race came, he would not have the energy to manage it. After returning, Zichun found Little Fairy. After bargaining with it, Little Fairy left the Tianwu world and began to search for hidden small worlds. It was a true expert in this aspect. Before leaving, Zichun gave Little Fairy the spirit core so that it could travel back and forth quickly. As for Zichun, he continued to cultivate. Every day, he refined energy and strengthened himself. He repeated this process over and over again. 3 months later, Little Fairy returned with the coordinates of a world. He followed the other party and personally made a trip. This was a world space that contained demonic resources. After Zichun appeared, he even found a few demon-level existences. He did not kill them but turned back. Since it was a trial ground, of course there would be some danger. On that day, he mobilized a few holy sages and began to set up the layout of this place. There were many resources in this world, enough for the Tianwu world to mine for many years. Therefore, facilities such as teleportation arrays had to be in place. In this regard, Grace was an expert. After the last war, the entire Grace family did not return to the Holy Thunder clan. Instead, they stayed in the Tianwu world and became a part of the Tianwu world. At the same time, Grace was also in charge of the Tianwu world's external power. Her position was almost no weaker than Zhou Linus. Luo Qixue returned once again. He brought with him the monk's dissatisfaction because there were indeed a lot of resources in that place. Once he took it for himself, it would be very beneficial to the Tianwu world. Zichen ignored the other party's words and did not even let Luo Qishui return. Instead, he let him stay in the Tianwu world. Su Mingyao and the others had all gone to explore, so there were almost no suitable people around him. Little Fairy was very efficient. In addition, the Holy Spirit world had just recovered and had a lot of resources. Under the obvious lack of manpower, Zichen had to call everyone back to explore these small worlds with resources. Chapter 4860. When Zichen advanced to become a demon, he did not experience the ancient Holy Venerate stage, because it was not a realm to begin with. This was a title for the ancient Holy Venerate. It often represented a stronger combat power, but it did not include a complete realm. This time, Zichen was able to break through, which was very surprising to him. After advancing to become a demon, Zichen's power was undergoing a fundamental change. Before he could feel the strength of this power, Zichen first felt hungry. It was not that he wanted to eat, but that his body needed energy. He needed a huge amount of energy to fill the hunger that came from his body. Zichen was prepared for this. He took out the demon resources that he had obtained before and began to devour them. Before breaking through, he refined them and strengthened himself little by little. After breaking through, he absorbed them. He absorbed them like crazy. At this moment, Zichen finally understood why no demons appeared in the world when the world was sealed. It was because the energy required to advance was too huge. His physical body, abdomen power, and soul power were all strengthening. The energy between heaven and earth was also gathering towards Zichen. Only the world of the later era could withstand the demons devouring. Zichen did not suppress his aura, so as the demon's aura spread, the entire Tianwu world was shrouded in the demon's pressure. After a brief moment of shock, the Tianwu world erupted in cheers. The world lord, Zichen, had broken through. This world would truly become a world that would never fall. It would be immortal. The rules between heaven and earth became more active, constantly absorbing energy from the void. Not only was Zichen going to break through, but the Tianwu world was also going to advance. Many gaps appeared in the sky, and endless void energy entered the Tianwu world. After being transformed by the rules, a drizzle of energy fell from the sky. The branches and leaves of the ancient trees closed and no longer covered the sky. This way, all living things in the world could be irrigated by the energy drizzle. The breakthrough lasted for a long time. The drizzle of energy had benefited many people. When everything returned to normal, the purity of the energy in the Tianwu world was obviously much higher than before. This was only a short-term change, and there would be continuous changes in the future. Zichen walked out of the room and arrived outside the Tianwu world. He instantly sensed the location of most of the Saint Spirit world. Although he couldn't sense what was on those planets, each and every one of them was within his perception. At the same time, a suction force came from the direction of the trial realm. This was the suction force for the demons. He wondered what the situation inside was like and how everyone was doing. At this point, the spirit core had completely lost its function, or rather, it was no longer of much use to Zichen. Although his current speed was not as fast as the spirit core's teleportation, it was not too far off. After taking out the flowing breaking blade, Zichen had a different feeling. Its sharpness far exceeded his imagination. Back then, it was a waste for the Lord to hold it in his hands. With a light wave of his hand, the 4 peaks appeared, emanating an oppressive aura. The current 4 peaks were no longer the same as before. Since he had broken through to the next realm, it seemed that he would have to make a trip to the trial realm. Whether it was the Heaven's Chosen Armor or the title of number 1, Zichen wanted to fight for them. However, before that, he needed to make arrangements for everyone and ensure that the Tianwu world could operate normally after he left. Zichen arrived outside a small world, where there were people specially guarding. When they saw Zichen, they immediately cupped their fists and bowed. This was the small world that Su Mingyao was in charge of. Zichen did not see her here, so he withdrew his aura and entered the small world. This small world had no restrictions on realms. After Zichen appeared, He released his demon perception and found Su Mingyao in a mountain stream. She had Shui Wu with her, and there were a few lords beside her. She seemed to have discovered something. Whoosh! A light flashed, and Zichun appeared in front of them. Everyone was shocked at first and mobilized their lord's power. When they saw Zichun's appearance, they hurriedly withdrew their aura. "Why are you here?" Su Mingyao glanced at Zichun and was a little surprised. At the mountain stream, there was an unstable space. It should be the direction they were exploring. The others bowed to Zichun and then left. "You've broken through?" Su Mingyao asked again. Zichun nodded and went forward to rub Shui Wu's head. Then he took out a stone peak and said, "Refine one and use it to deal with dangerous situations. Next, I will give one to the monk and the demon ape. If an uncontrollable situation occurs, the three of you should be able to deal with it together." The three of them were equivalent to three demons working together. In the current Saint Spirit realm, this was an extremely strong battle force. As for the last peak, Zichun wanted to take it to the trial realm. After all, there were many demons there, and he needed something to protect himself. Su Mingyao did not refuse. She took the black peak and began to refine it. Zichun stood there. After a simple refinement, he left. Next, he went to find the monk and the demon ape and gave them the black peaks. The monk was elated. He knew the effect of Zichun's black peaks and had long wanted one as a foundation. When he took the black peaks, he repeatedly promised that they would protect the Tianwu world well. During this period, he even threatened that if Zichun could give him the 4 peaks, he would be able to conquer half of the Saint Spirit realm when Zichun returned. Zichun ignored the monk's words. This guy seemed to be more aggressive than the other 3 races. Next, Zichun went to other worlds to meet Lin Shui, Wang Xian'er, and the others. Before he left, he gave them some demon resources. Back then, Zichun obtained a lot of demon resources. Even when Zichun broke through, he did not use them all. The last demon resources were given to Zhou Lina by Zichun to develop the Tianwu world. After arranging everything, Zichun released his perception and specifically probed for places where demons might be hiding. After leaving behind the accurate information, Zichun tore through the air and left. He had come to the trial realm. Entering through the entrance, Zichun saw a vast expanse of heaven and earth. This world was filled with rich vitality, but there was very little vegetation. He released his soul power. The area here was large enough, but his soul power was suppressed to a certain extent. There was no one around. The demons that came in previously could not be seen. Just as Zichun was deciding which direction to go, he suddenly felt a unique aura. This aura was unique because Zichun had never felt it before. It was an aura that did not belong to the 4 races. A tall figure appeared in Zichun's vision. This was an unknown tall creature. It looked similar to the demons, but it looked more ferocious, as if it was uncivilized. After seeing Zichun, it immediately flew over. Wherever it passed, there was an ear-piercing sound in the air. It approached and punched out. Bang! Chapter 4861. Hundreds of miles away, Zichun clenched his fists and crossed them to block the attack. Waves of pain came from his arms. His face was filled with shock. He just wanted to feel the power of the enemy, but he did not expect it to be like this. Looking at the tall figure in front of him, his expression changed. The tall figure rushed forward, whistling in the air. Looking at his opponent, who was still punching, Zichun chose to punch as well. Countless bolts of lightning gathered on his fist. The power of this punch was not ordinary. Boom! The moment the 2 fists met, a terrifying shockwave burst out. Zichun and his opponent were both pushed back dozens of feet. After Zichun became an evil demon, his body strength had greatly increased. Coupled with his extraordinary cultivation method, his combat power was naturally extremely strong. However, it was the first time that he was not suppressed by the tall figure in front of him. Whoosh! The figure of his opponent flashed and appeared in front of Zichun again, chopping down with his palm. In Zichun's eyes, a sharp blade light seemed to appear. The strong light was so bright that he could not open his eyes. Not daring to be careless, he took out the flowing blade. It was still a horizontal block. Clang! Clang! Like real weapons clashing, Zichun was pushed back again. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he slashed forward. Whoosh! The blade light swept forward, and an afterimage dissipated. Bang! A huge tremor came from the side, and Zichen's body was pushed back again. After landing, Zichen coughed up blood and looked in front of him in fear. This time, he was really shocked. Previously, when he slashed with his blade, his opponent dodged his attack, and then quickly approached him and punched his chest. Zichen had never seen such speed in his entire life. After all, he had mastered the Lightning Clan's extreme speed. He retreated again, and the black figure chased after him. During this time, Zichen slashed twice, but they both missed. He put away his blade, and his expression gradually became solemn. This kind of opponent was too difficult to deal with. In the next moment, he closed his eyes and released his soul power. The flowing blade disappeared beside him. The black shadow quickly closed in on Zichen and struck down. Zichen's eyes were still closed, but above his head, the sky suddenly darkened and black clouds began to fill the air. A terrifying aura filled the surroundings. Black Shadow withdrew his attack and quickly retreated, increasing the distance between him and Zichen. Zichen stood there motionless. The Black Shadow stood in the distance, motionless. Chi. In the sky, lightning flashed in the black clouds, as if there were snakes of lightning hidden within them. The pressure in the surroundings grew even more terrifying. Shwa. The Black Shadow suddenly moved and once again charged towards Zichen. However, before it could get close to Zichen, it quickly dodged. Then, he spun around Zichen, forming a black whirlwind. Zichen stood in the middle of the whirlwind, thunder rolling above his head. Occasionally, lightning snakes would emerge and illuminate the earth. This scene was extremely shocking. Both parties were in a state of anxiety. Finally, at a certain moment, Zichen opened his eyes. The Black Shadow's figure also paused. Zichen said. A dazzling lightning flashed across the sky and fell to the ground. This was the lightning controlling technique. The moment the lightning fell, the Black Shadow seized the opportunity and rushed towards Zichen. The flowing blade that disappeared in front of Zichen reappeared. In addition to the dazzling lightning, there was also a blade light in the sky. Puff. Blood splattered. The Black Shadow escaped. Zichen fell to the ground, with a broken arm beside him. The strange phenomenon in the sky disappeared, and the pressure in the surroundings also dissipated. On Zichen's chest, there was an extremely deep wound. It was made by the other party's finger. His physical defense couldn't block it. Zichen stood up again. He glanced at the Black Shadow that had already disappeared from his sight and frowned again. This guy was too strange. His combat strength was surprisingly strong. Looking at the wound, it hadn't healed yet. There were still traces of energy entangling it. He bent down and picked up the broken arm on the ground. The remaining aura on it was almost the same as on the wound. You can defeat an extra-legal demon in your first battle. That's impressive. A voice that was either praise or sarcasm rang out. Zichen suddenly turned his head and saw a bone eagle on a large rock not far away. There was no flesh on the eagle, only bones. And the bones weren't complete. Many of them were broken. It's you. Zichen looked at the bone eagle. I didn't expect you to come so soon. The bone eagle landed from the big rock and walked over with its bone wings spread. It didn't transform into human form. What about this wound? Zichen tried several times, but couldn't heal the wound. Wait slowly. After a few days, the energy will dissipate and it will recover. The bone eagle said, It's just some injuries. It won't kill you. What's going on? The Black Shadow just now didn't seem to belong to the four tribes. An extra-legal demon is said to be a creature of the immortal spell world. The bone eagle walked up to Zichen and stared at the broken arm in Zichen's hand. Is this good stuff? Zichen couldn't see the other's expression, but he could sense the fluctuations of its aura. It can extract a trace of extra-legal power. The bone eagle turned its head and looked in the direction the Black Shadow had disappeared. So, I didn't sense your presence before because you had a trace of extra-legal power? Zichen looked at the bone eagle. The bone eagle snorted and walked straight ahead. Zichen put away the broken arm and followed. Where are the others? Follow me. The bone eagle spread its wings and flew in the opposite direction. Zichun released his perception. The bone eagle's aura appeared and disappeared in his perception. Zichun became more and more curious about this world, so he followed. But he found that he couldn't keep up with the bone eagle's speed. The other party seemed to be speeding up, so Zichun could only give chase. The bone eagle was a little depressed. It wanted to trick the little guy and get the broken arm, but it didn't expect the other party to be so alert. This time, they traveled about 100,000 miles. Zichun was surprised at the size of this world. He thought that the two old men had randomly found a place for all the demons to fight, and the winner would be qualified. Now it seemed that this wasn't the case. In the end, the bone eagle gradually slowed down. It wasn't thinking about Zichun's feelings, but looking around vigilantly. How did you find it from so far away? Zichun accelerated to catch up with the bone eagle. The bone eagle said angrily, "The entrance is in that area. We go there every few days. How do you think I got there? But now that you're here, we don't have to go anymore. Along the way, when wasn't I on edge? Even you can't fight against the extra-legal demon?" Hearing Zichun's words, the bone eagle was in a good mood, because Zichun's words clearly placed it in a very high position. It's not easy to deal with. The bone eagle shook its head. What about the two elders in black and white robes? Zichun asked again. Those two old men turned hostile after coming here, the bone eagle said unhappily. Now, no one knows where they are. It's impossible to get close to them. As they spoke, the bone eagle began to descend. There was a rolling mountain range below. Chapter 48:62. Zichun descended from the sky and saw a huge cave. Meow Meow and the others had already sensed his aura and walked to the entrance. "Young master, you came earlier than we thought." As Zichun landed, Meow Meow walked up and tidied up Zichun's clothes. "Young master, did you encounter the extra-legal demon?" Yes, it was indeed difficult to deal with. Zichun's injuries had not recovered. The strands of power were difficult to deal with, but they no longer tried to corrode Zichun. Meow Meow looked at the bone eagle, who stood aside and said, "Don't look at me. When I arrived, the battle was already at its end. It was too late to join forces." Shui Shang also came to Zichun's side and seemed to be checking his injuries. "Humph." The 8 heads snorted. This Zichun was really popular with women. The 8 heads of the 8 heads all had wounds, and there were remnants of power in several places that had not recovered. Qi Yin and Qiong Qi stood on both sides of the cave. Both of them were injured. Han Nu and Cheng Ho were also in this team. Han Nu's aura was very weak, and Cheng Ho's face was bruised and swollen. He was the most miserable of them all. It seemed that he could only walk normally, and everything else was a problem. Compared to the others, Zichun's condition was considered good. How could this be? Zichun's eyes were filled with surprise. These people were a group of peak existences in the spiritual realm. They had been here for so long, and they should not be like this. Even the demon race's rebellion in the spirit realm wasn't like this. Our condition is already very good. You were lucky to meet the bone eagle. If he had arrived a little later, you might have died. The 8 heads snorted and said, "A large number of demons that came back then died on the day they arrived. The extra-legal demon must have retreated because it sensed the aura of the bone eagle." The bone eagle shook its head and said, "When I arrived, the battle was already over." Zichun cut off an arm of the extra-legal demon. What? The 8 heads could not believe it. He cut off an arm of the extra-legal demon as soon as he arrived? Zichun took out the severed arm. You mean this? That's impossible. The 8th head still couldn't believe it, and the others were shocked as well. Meow Meow's eyes lit up as she said, "Young master, you should first condense the extra-legal energy and see what effect it has." In fact, everyone was still curious about how Zichun did it. After all, the extra-legal demons were extraordinarily powerful. It was as if they were born to restrain them. Therefore, when they fought, they were suppressed in every way. This cave was where everyone was currently living. The cave was very large, and there was only one entrance. Every night, there would be someone keeping watch. After the 2 old men came in, no one saw them again. As for the heaven's chosen weapon, there was no news. You want to leave? That was impossible. because there was no exit. Zichun was very surprised to hear the truth from Miao Miao. According to his understanding of the two elders, they should not be like this. However, the most important thing now was to condense the energy of the severed arm. Compared to the layout of this place, they were more interested in knowing how Zichun cut off the arm of the extraterrestrial demon. When they first came in, the scene was too tragic. Even they, who were experienced and knowledgeable, were shocked. Even when Gu Shan became the #1 person, they had not seen such a horrible massacre. Demons died in droves. My illusion is almost useless against the extra-legal demons. When I first came here, I suffered a great loss and almost died. Everyone was injured at the moment, and the bone eagle was now missing a few bones. Although the two old men did not appear again, we guessed that this should be a corner of the immortal spell world based on the extra-legal demons we encountered. If you can't survive here, it should be impossible to survive in the immortal spell world. Just as Zichun was condensing the severed arm, Miao Miao told him some things about this place. Some were what she saw with her own eyes, and some were just guesses. Zichun listened quietly, not delaying the work at hand. Here, we all attacked together. During this time, we killed 2 extra-legal demons and refined all the energy we obtained. Those extra-legal demons have different appearances and auras. They each have their own means. Some are good at long-range attacks, some are good at close combat, and some have endless spells. They are very difficult to deal with. The severed arm in front of Zichun dissipated, leaving only some pure energy. This was energy that did not belong to the 4 tribes. It was a kind of dark energy, but it was clearly different from devil chi. This was extra-legal energy. Young master, try to refine it. Miao Miao came in front of Zichun. With a thought, this energy entered Zichun's body. It was like a living flame entering his body. In an instant, Zichun's face turned red. The energy in his body seemed to be about to go out of control and spread all over his body. A vibrating aura surged out. Everyone was already used to this scene, and no one purposely reminded Zichun at this moment. Only when one was caught off guard could one sense the difference in extra-legal energy. The vibrating energy lasted for 10 breaths, and then gradually calmed down. Everyone looked at each other and saw a hint of surprise in each other's eyes. When they refined extra-legal energy for the first time, it was not so easy. After a while, Zichun opened his eyes and said, "It's a very strange energy. How should I say? It should be a higher level of energy." Miao Miao and the others nodded. Extra-legal energy was indeed the highest level of energy, and its quality surpassed all the energy in the spiritual realm. If life was classified by energy, then extra-legal demons were much more noble than the 4 tribes. At this moment, Zichun had not completely refined that little bit of energy. He had only temporarily suppressed it. At this moment, the energy in his body was like a giant beast, devouring the extra-legal energy bit by bit. The devouring process was not fast, and could even be said to be slow. At present, we haven't thought of a good way. We can only refine the power of extra-legal demons bit by bit. Perhaps when we refine enough, our bodies will change. At that time, we may be able to fight against extra-legal demons. Miao Miao said, "Of course, it may work if we have a heaven's chosen weapon. But the 2 old men have not shown up yet, and no one knows how to get a heaven's chosen weapon. Then let's wait." Zichun closed his eyes and prepared to continue refining the remaining energy. At this moment, he sensed a powerful aura in the outside world. "There's an extra-legal demon." The voice of the 8 heads sounded from outside. Miao Miao and the others quickly rushed out. Boom! The cave was shrouded by a huge force and collapsed in an instant. Smoke and dust accompanied by powerful energy raged. Zichun ran out in time and saw an extra-legal demon. There was only one. "I was worried about not having a target recently. Since you took the initiative to come, then die." The eyes of the 8 heads flashed coldly, and his real body appeared. Miao Miao and the others spread out and formed a circle. In this place, it was not shameful to join forces to deal with an extra-legal demon. Chapter 48-63. In front of them, extra-legal demons appeared one after another, corresponding to everyone present. It was impossible to tell which was the real body and which was the doppelganger. All of them looked the same, and so did their auras. The expressions of Zichun and the others changed. Is this a doppelganger technique? Another new technique? The eight-headed demon said angrily. Damn it, I thought a fool would come and seek death. Qi Yin said in a low voice, let's test the power of the doppelganger first. Qi Yin rushed forward and launched an attack. Flames lit up in his palm, and the surrounding temperature suddenly rose. The fist shadow turned into a ferocious fire beast. The black figure in front did not do anything else, and just watched Qi Yin approach calmly. Just as Qi Yin was guessing whether the doppelganger had no combat power, a black flame suddenly lit up. The other party took a hit from Qi Yin, and at the same time, struck at Qi Yin's chest. Qi Yin, who was already on guard, blocked with his hand. A strong aura shook, and he retreated. Just as Qi Yin retreated, Qiongqi also retreated. The two had attacked at almost the same time, and their attacks were blocked. Even if it's not the real body, it's not weaker than the real body. When Miao Miao saw all of this, her expression gradually became solemn. What should we do? The eight-headed demon looked around. This guy was even more difficult to deal with. Whoosh! The black figure suddenly disappeared, as if teleporting, and appeared behind everyone. Just as everyone turned around and was on guard against them, black flames once again appeared on the bodies of these black figures. The surrounding space distorted, and the black flames began to burn, forming a ring of fire. Formation? And it's a formation of one person? Zichun was slightly taken aback and felt very surprised. He had seen a new technique again. The other's expressions became serious. Zichun closed his eyes, and the black clouds in the sky began to surge. This was the art of lightning manipulation. Even now, this kind of lightning technique from the early days could still be used. Lightning snakes swam in the black clouds, and pressure swept in all directions. In Zichun's perception, the extra-legal demons below had the same aura, but they were all real, and there was no difference between doppelganger and the real body. However, for the art of lightning manipulation, there was no difference between one and a group of them. As long as it was within the range of his will, his attack could reach it. The black flames were still burning, as if they were about to form a space of flames, or perhaps a domain of flames. Above his head, the black clouds began to descend slowly, bringing with them an extremely terrifying pressure. The lightning in the black clouds became even more violent. The rolling thunder was deafening. At this moment, Zichun opened his eyes. In an instant, thunder rumbled, and the dark world was illuminated by a strong light. There were 9 bolts of lightning descending from the sky. Each thunderbolt corresponded to an extra-legal demon. Just as the lightning struck, the 8 people beside Zichun moved. He used all sorts of powerful techniques to try and kill the other party. A demonic storm instantly formed. 8 of them disappeared, and only one flew into the distance, disappearing in the blink of an eye. It was his real body. The thunder might in the sky was still there, and Zichun wasn't sure if it would return. Since he dared to provoke them alone, he obviously had real ability. After understanding some of the habits of the extra-legal demon, the others secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Zichun was here this time. Otherwise, based on their current situation, even if they didn't get wiped out, there would be many casualties. Everyone also finally knew how Zichun defeated an extra-legal demon before. Withdrawing the thunder might, the black clouds in the sky dispersed. Zichun asked, "What's going on here?" No one could explain, because it was the first time they had seen such an extra-legal demon. The cave was destroyed, and this place was no longer habitable. They could only find another place to live. Zichun took out a building that he had refined before. After landing, it turned into a multi-story house, and everyone moved in. Scarlet Ape reminded Zichun to be careful, because the extra-legal demons here would take the initiative to attack. They had already lost many such buildings when they came here, and finally had to find a cave. And if they wanted an undamaged place to live, it would have to be a demon-level one. Back in the building, everyone sat in the comfortable hall and fell silent for a moment. Besides Chung Ho, Hanu, and Zichun, the others were more ancient existences, so they all saw something. Because of this, everyone was silent. After a long time, Basho said, "So, These extra-legal demons are comparable to the five spirits? Back then, Gu Shan used the five spirits to seal the entire demon race. After that, the demon race wanted to return, and each of the five spirits consumed a demon, then fell into a deep sleep. They had never thought of this before, until they saw Ziqian use the thunder manipulation technique. They were very familiar with this technique, so they had this guess. It was meaningless to just guess how powerful the extra-legal demons were. Now, everyone was thinking about how to survive. Young master, do you have any good suggestions? Miao Miao looked at Ziqian. Ziqian shook his head. He had just arrived and was unfamiliar with everything, so he couldn't give any good suggestions. He thought for a moment and said, "Then let's fight together. There might not be many extra-legal demons like before. The most important thing now is for everyone to recover from their injuries and maintain their strongest state." Ziqian spent 2 days to refine that strand of energy, and his previous injuries were also healed. The others recovered slightly faster than Ziqian, but their injuries were more serious, so they hadn't fully recovered. In these few days, no extra-legal demons came, and no one took the initiative to attack. Just as the Bone Eagle said, since Ziqian was here, they didn't go to the entrance. Another 2 days passed, and everyone's injuries were basically healed. It was time to go out and hunt. The 9 of them all moved out, and Ziqian put away the building. During this time, everyone released their soul power to search for the extra-legal demons that might exist in the range of their soul power. As for Ziqian, he walked at the front alone. Because Ziqian didn't have too much extra-legal demon aura on him, he was a good target. Ziqian was walking on the Gobi Desert when there was a sudden movement in the ground. A torrent of sand rushed out from the ground. Ziqian's expression changed slightly, and he immediately rushed into the sky. There were sounds of explosions all around, and many torrents rushed into the sky, surrounding Ziqian. Ziqian's streambreaker appeared in his hand, and he quickly slashed horizontally, cutting all the torrents in half. Whoosh! There was an ear-piercing sound, and an extra-legal demon with a yellow spear had already arrived in front of Ziqian. The flowing broken saber blocked with a clanging sound. Ziqian retreated once again. Above his head, everyone flew over and surrounded the extra-legal demon. Other than Miao Miao, the Ba Shou and the others all revealed their true forms, but their true forms were much smaller than when they were in the outside world. "We must kill him. We must not let him escape," the Ba Shou shouted. Puff. Chapter 48-64. The only thing they were worried about was that the otherworldly demon would escape. Such a team could be said to have the strongest combat strength in the Saint Spirit domain. They did not expect the otherworldly demon to take the initiative to attack. The unexpected attack caused the 8 heads to lose one of his heads. The 8 heads, who had recovered all his strength, had all 8 heads. Now that he had lost one, although it would not kill him, he would lose some of his combat strength. He was very angry. "Be careful. He can use the power of the earth," Miao Miao reminded. She stood at the outermost circle and did not reveal her true form. She was ready to act at any time. So what if it's the power of the earth? I can also use the demonic power of heaven and earth. The 8 heads was extremely angry. 7 of his heads opened their mouths and spat at the otherworldly demon. 7 different types of energy surged out, forming various attacks. The otherworldly demon formed an energy shield around himself. These incoming attacks could not advance an inch. Scarlet Swallow flashed forward and punched at the other party's shield. He did not have a weapon because the demonic race had always believed that the body was the greatest weapon. Of course, it was also because he did not have a suitable weapon. Boom! The otherworldly demon's shield was broken by a punch. The other party held a spear and stabbed at Scarlet Swallow's chest. The Bone Eagle attacked from the side, its sharp claws grabbing at the other party's head. On the other side, Cheung Chi and the Bone Eagle formed a pincer attack. Chung Ho pointed forward. A ray of light appeared from his fingertip, like a real sword chi, and attacked the back of the otherworldly demon. In terms of physical strength, he and Lady Han were the weakest in the group. They were responsible for long-range attacks. The aura of ice surged, and countless ice blades whizzed out. Except for Ziqian and Miao Miao, the others attacked at the first moment. With everyone working together, They blocked all the paths of the otherworldly demon. The other party retracted the spear that was attacking Scarlet Swallow and swept it toward the sky, blocking the Bone Eagle's attack and forcing Cheongqi back. The shield that had disappeared earlier reappeared, blocking the attacks of Chung Ho and Lady Han. He resisted the energy and dispersed the attacks, flying toward the sky. He was trying to escape. Miao Miao moved. A ray of soul light like lightning entered the otherworldly demon's sea of consciousness. She was good at soul techniques. With a groan, Miao 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 flew backward with blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. However, her attack was not in vain. The escaping speed of the extra-legal demon was obviously slowed down. Wang Zichun struck. The flowing saber carried an unparalleled saber will as it slashed towards the extra-legal demon. The spear in the other party's hand blocked horizontally. The spear broke in the middle and dissipated into energy. With the help of the spear, he had already reached the sky. At this moment, no one could stop him. Just as the other party was about to leave, the sky suddenly darkened. A real mountain covered the sky and fell from above, suppressing the extra-legal demon once again. Die! The cold voice sounded again as Zichun drew his blade for the second time. This time, Zichun attacked with all his might. The glaring light of his blade swept towards his opponent's body. Mountain chopping technique. Just as he was about to cut the opponent in half, a layer of armor suddenly appeared around the opponent. Chi! The saber light swept past him, shattering his armor. Blood rained down from the sky as the extra-legal demon turned into a beam of light and disappeared into the distance. He had actually blocked this attack. You can't leave. Zichun's expression didn't change as he watched the fleeing man. He seemed to have expected this. A thunderous sword light streaked across the sky and followed closely behind, piercing through the extra-legal demon's head. After flying for nearly 1,000 feet, the extra-legal demon crashed to the ground with a loud boom. The battle was over. In a short period of time, Zichun had used all his killing moves and joined forces with the others to kill an extra-legal demon. The other party was not only strong in combat, but also in escaping. Qi Yin rushed forward, but still carefully attacked twice. When he found that the other party was motionless, he brought the corpse back. They had carried out similar attacks many times, but the success rate was less than 50%. Moreover, it was the kind that took a long time and caused great losses on both sides. This time, with Zichun around, it was much easier. What about the other mountains? Cheongqi walked over and asked curiously, "Why didn't you use them together?" Zichun scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. Before coming here, he didn't know what was going on here. He had absolute confidence in his combat strength, so he only brought one mountain with him. If the 4 mountains were here, Zichun was confident that he could kill an extra-legal demon alone with their suppressive methods. After Zichun explained the situation, everyone couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. A complete extra-legal demon's energy is enough for us to condense for a long time. Moreover, with the addition of Young Master, our future gains will only be greater. Miao Miao stepped forward and said with a smile, "So, don't worry about it." Everyone nodded. To them, this was indeed a historical moment, and all of this was because of Zichun. After returning to his residence, the others were breaking down the energy, while Zichun was thinking about the previous battle. An extra-legal demon could attack and retreat. If not for the Thunderous sword, the other party might have really escaped. The Thunderous sword could kill the enemy because of the previous mountain-cleaving technique, which caused the other party to suffer heavy injuries, especially the second slash. Previously in the Saint Spirit domain, Zichun's flowing blade had a suppressive effect on all the demons. Together with the 4 mountains, they couldn't escape at all and could only fight to the death with the flowing blade. But it was different here. The suppressive effect of the flowing blade was greatly reduced, and the other party could break free at any time. The battle effect was naturally much weaker, but from the looks of it, there seemed to be no other way. They could only first refine the energy and make everyone stronger. Miao Miao, who had deliberately made a noise, came in front of Zichun. Zichun turned to look at her and was a little surprised. Miao Miao sat down but didn't say anything. "Is there a problem?" Zichun asked. Miao Miao said, We discussed it and suggested that young master doesn't condense the extra-legal energy for the time being. Zichen didn't say anything because Meow Meow hadn't finished speaking. As we refined the energy, we realized that the extra-legal demon was becoming more and more cautious. For example, the previous sneak attack was the first time, but we guessed that it was because of young master. Meow Meow continued. After that, we went out to hunt and confirmed our guess. Zichen nodded and said, "So you mean that as long as I don't refine the extra-legal energy, the extra-legal demon will take the initiative to find me?" I'm the bait. That should be the case. Meow Meow nodded, a little embarrassed. But it's not that young master doesn't refine it at all. Young master can try to use the energy to refine weapons. Perhaps it can make them stronger. Oh. Zichen's eyes lit up slightly. It can be done like that? Meow Meow isn't sure about the specifics. We can only wait for young master to try it later. After everyone had condensed the energy, they gave it to Zichen. During this time, no one refined it. Chapter 4865. Everyone looked at Zichen with anticipation in their eyes. This place was too strange. They had to become stronger. At the very least, they had to have the power to deal with the extra-legal demons. After a long period of refinement and research, they wanted to find another way. Zichen tried to inject energy into the streamer blade. Looking at Zichen's expressionless face, everyone became nervous. After a while, Zichen raised his head. "How is it?" Everyone looked at him. The energy can't be completely absorbed. It's impossible to change its characteristics. Zichen changed the topic and said, "However, the energy can be attached to the blade. I can clearly feel that the power of the streamer blade has increased." Everyone, who was disappointed when they heard this, had their eyes lit up. This was obviously possible. The only problem was that before every battle, they had to inject energy into the blade. Next, Zichen injected part of his energy into the streamer blade. Black Peak and the Devil Grade short sword also did the same. Because it was a one-time use, it didn't require much energy. The rest of the energy was left for Zichen to inject for the second time. Everyone split the energy. Except for Zichen, everyone started to refine the energy. 2 days later, they went out to hunt again. Zichen was still at the front and all his weapons were hidden. Meow Meow and the rest were some distance away from Zichen. A blade light came from afar, leaving a clear trace in the air. Before the blade light came close, a pressure fell on Zichen and firmly controlled Zichen. Zichen shouted and used the streamer blade to block in front of him. Clang! The blade light fell on the streamer blade. The powerful force forced Zichen back. Zichen's expression changed. The energy in the streamer blade had decreased by about a quarter. He was heartbroken. He raised his head and looked ahead. An extra-legal demon holding a blade was rushing towards him. "You're courting death." Zichen shouted angrily and also rushed forward. The energy in his body was madly injected into the streamer blade. The flowing blade began to tremble, and a terrifying aura surged out. The extra-legal demon that was rushing forward suddenly stopped, as if he had sensed a threat. His expression became serious. Wong. The void trembled as a black mountain descended from the sky, bringing with it a vast aura. The extra-legal demon raised his head and slashed at the sky. At the same time, Zichen also struck with his saber. It was definitely a strike of the pinnacle. His saber aura could only be stronger than that of extra-legal demon. The mountain peak was pushed back by the saber. Extra-legal demon immediately withdrew his saber to block the attack. With a bang, the long saber in his hand turned into energy and disappeared. His body flew backward and coughed up blood. Whoosh! The sword of thunder was like a flash of lightning. It instantly closed in and pierced through the other party's temple. His body was still pushed back several hundred meters before falling to the ground. When the extra-legal demon landed on the ground, Meow Meow and the others followed. They looked at the dead extra-legal demon and looked at each other. "That's it? Amazing!" Chi Yin praised with a smile. He knew that Zichen's killing power would be stronger after infusing the energy, but he did not expect it to be so strong. The 8 heads moved forward. Half of the heads that had been cut off previously had already grown back. The energy of the extra-legal demon could not only strengthen one's body, but it was also very good for healing. With this success, everyone was much more confident. After returning, they began to decompose the extra-legal energy. Zichun was thinking about the previous battle. He had consumed a lot of energy, but compared to the spoils of war, it was nothing. Moreover, when controlling the weapon, Zichun could clearly feel that the weapon was stronger than before. Everyone took the decomposed energy. Zichun only took a small portion because he could not refine it himself, and the weapon was a one-time use item. In such a place, it was better to let the others refine it rather than waste it with him. This way, the battle strength of the whole team could be improved. Because Zichun was not injured, he decided to go hunting alone after recharging the energy. Everyone had seen his strength. Even if he could not kill the extra-legal demon, he could still escape successfully. However, for safety reasons, everyone still let Shueshang follow. Thus, Zichun put on a cloak and stepped onto the battlefield. It seemed that his aura was particularly attractive to the extra-legal demon. Not long after, an arrow pierced through the air. By the time Zichun heard the sound, the arrow was already close. Thus, he took out the mountain and blocked in front of him. Pong! The arrow exploded, and the mountain was knocked back. Zichun was also knocked back. There. Zichun looked in a certain direction, but he could not see anyone at all as he was surrounded by mountains. Whoosh! The arrow approached again, drawing an arc in the air. It was extremely fast. The mountain blocked the attack for him a second time. At the same time, Zichun used the lightning sword. In his perception, the lightning sword flew among the mountains and attacked the extra-legal demon. The extra-legal demon shot again, and the arrow hit the lightning sword. After several consecutive attacks, Zichun saw that the mountain and the lightning sword were consuming more and more energy. He had no choice but to retreat. After returning, everyone was very surprised when they heard what Zichun said. They were secretly glad that they did not follow him. Otherwise, they would have lost a few people this time. Last time, there was the one who could clone. This time, there was another one who could shoot arrows. They had never seen them before. Zichun did not believe in superstition. He felt that he was not that unlucky. After recharging the energy, he went hunting alone again. Sure enough, his luck was better this time. He found someone who did not use a weapon. The mountain, the lightning sword, and the extra-legal demon died after a series of combinations. Zichun returned with the spoils of war. In the following days, as long as Zichun was not injured and had finished recharging the energy, he would go hunting. During this time, he encountered the one with the bow 3 times. Both sides went back and forth, using various methods, but could not do anything to the other. All 3 times, Zichun took the initiative to retreat. The existence seemed to have consumed a lot of energy and did not take the initiative to chase after him all 3 times. As long as he did not encounter the existence with the bow and arrow, Zichun would gain something. Time passed day by day. On a certain day, after Zichun killed an extra-legal demon, a light suddenly lit up in the sky, and an object fell from the sky. There was no dangerous aura, and it went straight for Zichun. Zichun caught it instinctively and found that it was a token. The trial decree can be exchanged for a chosen one item. Zichun heard a cold and familiar voice. It was the black-robed old man that he had not seen in a long time. He was slightly startled, and then a smile appeared on his face. Obviously, the two were still in control of this place, and there were no accidents. But what did it mean to exchange for a chosen one item? Just as Zichun was puzzled, he found the number 1 on the token. The next moment, a force came and Zichun disappeared into thin air. Chapter 4866. Arriving at this space, Zichun was slightly startled, somewhat confused. The cloak behind him was still there, and Shueshang did not appear. Zichun stared at the space in front of him. There was nothing in this space. It was empty. What the hell? He looked at the trial taker's token in his hand. How did he end up here? Oh, who was I? So it's little Zichun. Suddenly, a sarcastic voice sounded. Zichun turned his head and saw a person standing next to him. It's you? His eyes flashed coldly. The person who came was none other than King Guqing from another world. Who else could it be? King Guqing walked to Zichun and glanced at him. I didn't expect that a little Zichun like you would come so quickly. Did you break through to become an evil demon? or did you take the back door? Zichen looked at him coldly. King Giching approached and sneered, "Are you here to kill me? Why don't I give you the chance now? I'll stand here and see if you have the ability. Don't you have Lu Duan? Come, start from here." He tilted his head and used his hand to draw on his neck, full of provocation. Zichen's eyes turned colder. Hee, you're angry? I haven't told you how we tortured that Dao protector back then. You seem to care about her. Is she your little girlfriend? King Giching smacked his lips and said, "Thinking about it now, it still feels good. That perfect body, that struggling movement, that ecstatic voice. You will die. You will all die." Zichen's body surged with endless killing intent, but it was just killing intent. There was no power. There seemed to be an invisible seal that fell on his body. Your expression, I'm so scared. Unfortunately, fighting is forbidden here, so you can only stare. King Giching smiled proudly. After coming here, did you stupidly find that there is nothing here? That's because you didn't get any points, so of course you can't see anything. The Chosen One is prepared for those who have accumulated points. After saying that, King Giching laughed and walked away. However, after taking a dozen steps, he suddenly stopped and looked back at Zichen. I say, if you want to kill me, you better hurry up because I will soon be able to gather enough points to exchange for the God's Chosen One armor. Once I have the God's Chosen One armor, I will be invincible. Perhaps at that time, I will be the one chasing after you. Looking at Zichen's clenched fists, King Giching shook his head in disdain. Look at you, little Zichen. You don't have any shrewdness at all. Your emotions are written all over your face. What qualifications do you have to be a demon? Do you know how to control your emotions? Of course, you wouldn't understand even if I told you. After all, you're so childish. King Giching smiled. By the way, aren't you curious as to why we are living such a carefree life while you are struggling to survive? In fact, it's very simple. When the seal was broken, we found many good things left behind by our master. We didn't know how to use them in the spiritual realm, but we found their wonderful uses here. King Giching disappeared, leaving Zichen alone. He was very emotional. King Giching, who should have disappeared, reappeared. Don't be angry. If you die from anger, I won't be happy. Because now, it's not you who wants to kill me, but me who wants to kill you. Don't worry, I'll find you after we get out. This time, King Giching really left. Zichen was full of anger. His enemy was right in front of him, but he couldn't kill him. The encounter this time had strengthened his killing intent. Zichen, a voice sounded, and the white-robed old man appeared. Zichen's expression softened as he saluted the white-robed old man with cupped fists. You've come earlier than we expected, said the old man with a smile. The white-robed old man looked at Zichen and nodded with a smile. Fighting is forbidden. Even if you are angry, you must suppress it. Understood. Come, let me explain the situation here to you. The white-robed old man led Zichen forward. As the white-robed old man waved his hand, Zichen, who couldn't see anything before, saw some things on display. Killing one extra-legal demon will give you 1 point. Points can be exchanged for things here. To get this right, you have to kill 10 extra-legal demons. I don't know if it's because of the many years of seal, but the extra-legal demons that appeared this time are extremely powerful. They are beyond our expectations. I believe you already know this. Extra-legal demons have different kinds of power. This kind of power is a kind of immortal Dharma power. The white-robed old man pointed at his feet. And this is a part of the immortal Dharma world that we simulated. These are God's chosen skills, these are God's chosen weapons, and these are special items. Zichen looked at the dazzling array of items. Beside them were marked with points. The cheapest only cost a few points, while the most expensive ones cost a few hundred points. I tried to refine them before, but I found that I couldn't refine my weapons. Zichen didn't understand. Why is that? Because they are made of different materials. They are all items from the spiritual realm. Naturally, they can't be upgraded with the help of immortal Dharma power. The white-robed old man explained, take your flowing saber for example. If you want it to be upgraded and have the same power as a God's chosen weapon, you have to break down the God's chosen weapon and re-inject its energy into the flowing saber to change its foundation. But this is obviously superfluous. Gushan gave up on the flowing saber because he didn't want to go through so much trouble. Instead of wasting time breaking it down, it's better to use a new one. In the end, the white-robed old man said, "Do your best. We have high hopes for you." Not everyone who came here had the privilege of being explained by the white-robed old man. The reason Zichun received preferential treatment, apart from their previous friendship, was that they had high hopes for Zichun. They felt that Zichun was qualified to be their guide. Zichun received a trial taker's token, but there were no points on it, so he could only look at the items. Shueshang didn't come out to take a look. After looking around once, Zichun's heart stirred, and he left this place. Zichun reappeared at his original spot. He didn't immediately go back. Instead, he stood there and injected extra-legal energy into his weapon. Because he hadn't refined any extra-legal energy, his actual battle strength hadn't increased by much. He had always relied on external items to kill his enemies. After he finished injecting energy, Zichun looked for a new target. Not long after, an extra-legal demon attacked him. He didn't use a bow, so he was naturally killed by Zichun. Chapter 4867. Zichun's original plan was to collect 10 points before returning. After all, the extra-legal demons here could be killed with a combination attack. However, after killing one, they encountered another extra-legal demon with a bow and arrow. Zichun decided to return. After returning, the first thing he did was inform everyone about the trial decree. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news. Killing 10 extra-legal demons was only the beginning. Even now, they did not have the combat power to fight an extra-legal demon one-on-one. Zichun also told them about the situation of the people in Gushan realm. Compared to Miao Miao and the others, those guys were living better and more carefree. "We miscalculated," Basho said with regret. "If we knew Gushan left these things behind, we would have searched for them when we left. Then we wouldn't have to live so miserably. What was done was done. There was no use regretting it. Everyone should focus on improving their own strength and quickly become independent." Fortunately, Zichun was here. Otherwise, their situation would be even more difficult. "What's in there?" Qiongqi asked curiously. "Is there anything suitable for us?" "There's God's chosen armor. There are many types, but the price is extremely high. It's the most valuable thing. Weapons are second. Relatively speaking, the price of those God's chosen skills is very reasonable. They are also the most plentiful." Zichun looked at the bone eagle. "There's something called the eagle technique. It costs 3 points to exchange. As for the other techniques, they range from a few to dozens, or even higher." Zichun saw these through the privilege of the white-robed old man. Therefore, he remembered these things. Presumably, others would not be able to see them so thoroughly. According to Zichun's guess, under normal circumstances, one would be able to see the corresponding things based on the number of points one had. However, if you want to cultivate those things, you have to make sure your own strength changes. Zichun said, "Right now, everyone still has to refine their strength." When he said this, everyone felt embarrassed. They did not do much, but they had a lot of energy to use. On the other hand, Zichun, who had the most killing power, could not improve his combat power. "When you become stronger, I will naturally become stronger as well." Zichun guessed what everyone was thinking and smiled as he said, "You all refine your energy first. I'll take advantage of my special status to get some more points." In the following days, Zichun left early in the morning and returned late at night. Sometimes he would reap some rewards, and sometimes he would run back in a sorry state. His combat strength did not improve much, but his points were increasing. Currently, he had 10 points, but Zichun had no intention of exchanging them. As Miao Miao and the rest had been refining their powers, they had improved tremendously as well. Their auras were not much different from the extra-legal demons. Just as Zichun's points reached 15, the group, who had made great progress, decided to go out and hunt the extra-legal demons together. The 8-headed snake tail whizzed over and whipped the body of the extra-legal demon, who was about to escape, but was once again knocked back. Zichun stood guard in the distance. This time, he did not make a move, but the flowing blade and the sword of lightning were ready to attack at any time. The energy in the sky surged. The retreating extra-legal demon met the scarlet ape. The other party punched down and was evenly matched with the extra-legal demon. Then the scarlet ape punched again and again, its battle intent high. It was not so much killing the enemy as training itself. The Cheongqi and the bone eagle stood on both sides. After the scarlet ape retreated, they went up one after another to fight the extra-legal demon. During this time, the extra-legal demon used many escape techniques, but it was forced back each time. Meow Meow spells could be used again. With the power of dozens of extra-legal demons, everyone finally had the battle strength to fight the extra-legal demon. Chung Ho and the Frost Maiden's moves were also stronger because of the transformation of their powers. This was only a partial transformation. Once the power was fully transformed, their battle strength would be even stronger. Originally, Zichen alone killed the extra-legal demon to supply everyone. Now, it was everyone's turn to supply Zichen. After returning, Zichen cultivated at full speed. The power of the extra-legal demon entered his body and began to transform Zichen's power. When Meow Meow and the others went out to hunt, they would also refine the energy. Everyone was improving. Die. On the battlefield, the 8 heads, who had transformed into his true form, flew up and bit an extra-legal demon tightly. The power around the extra-legal demon shook, and countless wind blades appeared around him, cutting everything. Blood splattered as the 8 heads tore the other party's body apart. There were hundreds of bloody wounds on the 8 heads' body. Fortunately, they were only wounds and were not fatal. And because of the transformation of his own power, the power could not remain on the wounds, and his injuries healed quickly. In his human form, the 8 heads looked at the corpse on the ground and laughed mockingly. You extra-legal demons must have never thought that this day would come, right? Ha ha. From now on, no one here can suppress me, the 8 heads. The laughing 8 heads suddenly saw someone walking over from afar. He looked over and was surprised. OL Black, why are you here? Next to OL Black was a middle-aged man. You know him? The middle-aged man looked at OL Black and asked, where did this guy come from? A ray of light approached from afar, and Meow Meow and the others came to the 8 heads' side. OL Black looked at everyone and said, sorry? OL Black, what are you doing? Who is this guy? Why are you acting like a grandson beside him? The 8 heads frowned. He could see OL Black's attitude. OL Black did not answer the 8 heads' question. Instead, he looked at the middle-aged man and said, King Qing, Zichun was with them. They are in cahoots. The middle-aged man was none other than King Guqing. After meeting Zichun previously, he had indeed embarked on a journey to find Zichun. I finally found you. King Guqing smiled faintly and looked at the crowd. Damn it. You guys are like a bunch of rats. You made it difficult for me to find you. OL Black, what kind of dog is this? The 8 heads' eyes flashed coldly. Where did you pick it up from? Damn you. I'm here to send you on your way. King Guqing took out a sword and slashed forward. Whoosh. A sword chi with extra-legal power went straight for the 8 heads. The 8 heads revealed his true form, and his power surged out to block the sword. As the sword chi passed, the 8 heads' attack was destroyed, and 2 of his heads were cut off. When the others saw this, their expressions changed. You bastard, you're the first one. Remember, my name is Guqing. Chapter 48-68. The 8-headed beast's 8 heads all left its body, and its huge body fell to the ground. King Guqing looked at this scene and said mockingly, I heard that you were seniors from the same era as Master. Is this all you've got? Old Black's eyelids twitched. This was too powerful. Meow Meow and the others did not even have time to react. The other party's 2 swords had already brought about such a shocking effect. Don't rush one by one. Looking at the shocked crowd, King Guqing smiled coldly. Everyone has a share. His eyes landed on Meow Meow and wandered around her body. You can live. I've always been very patient with beauties. Meow Meow's eyes had a hint of murderous intent. You can live too. He looked at Ice Maiden again. Her casual attitude showed that she did not care about these existences at all. The auras around Bone Eagle and Cheongqi became violent. Although they usually bickered with the 8-headed beast, they could not bear to see it die. After all, there were not many who survived from that era. At this moment, Scarlet Ape shouted, "Don't be rash, run." As soon as Scarlet Ape finished speaking, a beam of light flew out from the eight-headed beast's corpse. It was the eight-headed beast. "Beast, wait until your grandfather recovers." The eight-headed beast flew towards Scarlet Ape, not forgetting to leave a ruthless sentence. "Oh, not dead." King Giching's eyes had a hint of surprise. He slashed with his sword again, and the sword energy came forward. Boom! Scarlet Ape exploded. Its huge body was like a solid wall, blocking the sword energy. Its body was immediately penetrated by the sword energy, and blood splattered everywhere. "Run!" Ignoring its injuries, Scarlet Ape shouted again, "It'll be too late if we don't run now." Yes, Scarlet Ape was running this time. Another powerful aura appeared in the sky. Someone else was coming. Go! Everyone was decisive. They would not fight to the death just because of this junior's mockery. Bone Eagle flew forward, grabbed Scarlet Ape with its sharp claws, and flew into the distance. At the same time, Cheong-Chi also left with Meow Meow, Chung-Ho, and Ice Maiden. The two existences showed their full speed, turning into streams of light and flying into the distance. Old Black looked at this scene and felt sad. After all, they were great figures in the past, and they had fallen to such a state. He felt very upset. "Ah, you're escaping just like that? You're not behaving like a senior at all, right?" Even so, King Giching paused for a moment and waited for the other two kings behind him to catch up before continuing his pursuit. He was not stupid. He was worried that this was a ploy by these people. "We're going to beat him when he's down," King Giching shouted as he gave chase. The three of them traveling together gave him a lot of confidence. Zichun was condensing energy in the main hall. During this period of time, he had made great progress, and his combat strength had increased significantly. Along with the increase in battle strength, the power of the lightning controlling technique and the lightning sword also increased a lot. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and felt that the chi of heaven and earth around him had become chaotic. "Zichun, run!" Qi Yan's voice entered the hall, sounding very anxious. Zichun flew out of the main hall, his cloak fluttering behind him. From afar, he could see that everyone was flying over. Scarlet Ape was heavily injured, and its 8 heads were in a weak soul state. What happened? Zichun was very surprised. According to everyone's battle strength, even if they were not a match for the extra-legal demon, it should not be like this. "Run! The people of Gashan Domain are here." Cheong-Chi shouted. "They're behind us. There are 3 of them." "Haha, Zichun, I've been looking for you for a long time. I didn't expect you to be hiding here." Zichun heard King Giching's laughter. Within the range of his soul power, Zichun saw 3 kings chasing after him. All 3 of them had weapons in their hands, and they turned into streaks of light. "Young master, their battle strength is very strong." The 8 heads were reduced to such a state in just one exchange. Seemingly seeing that Zichun intended to stay, Meow Meow reminded him. Zichun's expression changed. He thought of the God's Chosen technique. The reason for the huge difference in battle strength between the two sides was that the other party had cultivated the God's Chosen technique. "You guys go first." Zichun glanced at the crowd and controlled the sword of lightning to fly into the distance. The lightning sword turned into a bolt of lightning and went straight for King Giching. "Child's play." King Giching smiled disdainfully and slashed with his sword again. Accompanied by a waterfall, Zichun's lightning sword was knocked away. Zichun felt the power of the sword and called back the lightning sword. After hesitating again, he followed the others. After running for a distance, Zichun suddenly changed his direction. You guys are so unique." King Giching glanced at Zichun and chased after Zichun without hesitation. The other two were somewhat hesitant. When Meow Meow and the others realized that something was wrong, the two sides were already far apart. She did not chase after them. After thinking for a while, she said to split up. The two sides separated again. Scarlet Ape, 8 heads, and Bone Eagle went together. Meow Meow, Chung-Ho, Han Nu, and Cheong-Chi went together. The two who were originally hesitating became even more hesitant. They did not know how to chase. "Don't worry about the others. Let's kill Zichun first." At this moment, King Giching's voice came from afar. He instantly understood that Zichun wanted to split up and kill them one by one. Of course, he would not be fooled. Miao Miao and the others were not to be feared. They could be killed or not. However, Zichun must die because he was too much of a threat. When he was just a saint venerable, he made them unable to eat or sleep in peace. Now that he had become a demon, he was even more of a threat. Fortunately, they came here. If they were still in the saint spirit realm, they would have been killed by Zichun long ago. Hearing the voice, the two chased after Zichun. Blackie, ask your men to watch where those fellows escape to. After we kill Zichun, we will go and kill them one by one. Anyone who has anything to do with Zichun must die. After the honorable king rules this place and becomes the #1 person, we will go back and destroy Zichun's world. Before disappearing, King Giching did not forget to remind Blackie who was following behind. Of course, he was only Blackie now. Zichun did not expect that King Giching and the others could really find him. Knowing that their target was him, Zichun took the initiative to leave them. On one hand, he wanted them to be safe. At the same time, he wanted to find an opportunity to kill them. As the three chased after him, Zichun knew that Miao Miao and the others were safe. It would be difficult for him to seize the opportunity. Therefore, he did not hesitate to escape. Escape, escape, or escape. This feeling had not appeared for a long time. At least, it had been a long time since he was in such a sorry state. Zichun had the ability to kill any one of the three. However, Zichun did not have much confidence in the three of them working together. Moreover, there was not only one person in Gashan realm. There was a group. Zichun was worried that there would be others following and setting up an ambush. He heard King Giching's words. Therefore, he could not die. As long as he was alive, these people's attention would be on him. His friends would be safe. Suddenly, an arrow pierced through the air. Chapter 4869. By the time Zichun sensed the danger, the arrow was already nearing. Without hesitation, he took out the black mountain to block it. The arrow exploded, and the mountain blocked the attack. Zichun slowed down slightly. The three people behind him were quickly approaching. King Giching laughed. "Little turtle, don't run. Let's fight a few hundred rounds." Zichun did not respond. The extra-legal demon shot again, but the second arrow was blocked by the mountain. Zichun frowned. Was this guy determined to deal with him? Couldn't he see that there were 3 more targets behind him? At this moment, a sword light appeared behind him. The distance between them was shortened again, blocked in front and chased behind. Zichun was anxious. He turned around and slashed with his saber. The mountain chopping technique dissolved the sword chi. But that was all. Wong, wong, wong. Arrows pierced through the air. The extra-legal demon seemed to have noticed that Zichun was in trouble, so he was even closer this time. The sound of the bowstring vibrating could be heard clearly. Zichun was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only continue to run, trying to change directions. The extra-legal energy surrounding the mountain had long disappeared, and there was no time to replenish it. The thunder sword and the flowing saber were the same. King Giching stood in the air, looking at the fleeing Zichun. He smiled proudly. "Zichun, take my heavenly law sword chi." A sword flew from the sky. It seemed to cut the space in half, leaving a clear mark in the air. Wherever the sword light passed, the mountains trembled and the earth trembled. Zichun felt the threat behind him. He wanted to turn around and block it. At this moment, another arrow came from the front, and it was even faster. Zichun thought for a while and decided to block the arrow first, then the sword. But just as he was about to block the arrow light with all his strength, the sword chi behind him suddenly accelerated and approached at an unimaginable speed. Whoosh! A long river appeared behind Zichun, as if it was a river of blood from hell, appearing out of nowhere. It was Shueshang. She had been following Zichun, and she chose this moment to attack. Whoosh! The long river was split in half. The sword chi pierced the cloak, and Zichun heard a cry of surprise. "Shueshang!" Zichun shouted and shook off the arrow light. He turned around to take a look. There was a hole in his cloak, and blood was seeping out of it. "Hee hee, let's see how many more strikes you can block." King Giching glanced to his side and said, Jerry, Gus, let's surround Zichun from 3 sides and work together with the extra-legal demon. All right. The 2 of them nodded and took out their weapons as well. These were all left behind by Gushan, and one of them also had a black wristband. Surrounded from 3 sides, Zichun could only rush towards the extra-legal demon in front of him. He was not calm at the moment, so he could not use the art of controlling thunder to intimidate them. The extra-legal demon was very experienced and kept retreating. During this time, one arrow after another flew through the air. Zichun's black peak was sent flying again and again. On the back of his cloak, there were already 3 bloody wounds. Shua. He put away his cloak. If this continued, Shueshang would not be able to hold on. Zichun, who had removed his cloak, moved forward rapidly. His eyes were fixed on the extra-legal demon. If not for the other party's deliberate obstruction, he would not be in such a sorry state. Right now, he had to kill the other party. Putting away his black peak, Zichun held the flowing knife tightly and displayed his fastest speed. The other party was retreating, and his speed was slower than Zichun's. As the arrows approached, Zichun did not dodge. He used the Sword of Thunder to destroy them. He could not use this kind of attack many times, so he had to hurry. The distance between the 2 parties was getting closer and closer. At this moment, it was less than 10,000 feet. In this range, the Sword of Thunder was invincible. Unfortunately, without the protection of the extra-legal demon, Zichun did not dare to act rashly. 9,000 feet, 8,000 feet, 7,000 feet. Seeing that there was only 5,000 feet left, Zichun's eyes flashed with killing intent. First, it was the Sword of Thunder, which shot towards the other party like a bolt of lightning. Next, it was the mountain chopping technique, which was Zichun's best move. The black mountain fell from above, carrying with it a vast aura. The world suddenly lit up, and a terrifying aura surged. Just as Zichun was using his full strength, the 3 people behind him did not stop attacking. Zichun wanted to kill the extra-legal demon, and they wanted to kill Zichun. Blood splattered in the sky. The powerful aura was constantly shaking, and space was crazily distorting. The extra-legal demon fled in another direction. He was injured, and after all, his weapon did not have the extra-legal demon's power. Therefore, Zichun could not kill him. Zichun did not dare to stop. He quickly moved forward, leaving behind a trail of blood. Behind him, Giching King was laughing loudly. A crystal ball floated above his head. Zichun, you look quite cute when you're running away. Next, I will let everyone see how the famous you, in front of our Gu Shanjie, is unable to withstand a single blow and is in such a sorry state. Zichun was seriously injured, but the 3 of them did not pursue him. It was not that they wanted to let Zichun live, but that they were too deep in. If they continued to pursue, they would be in great danger. What do we do now? Let him escape? Giching King turned to look at Giching King. Giching King said indifferently, So what if he escapes? Are you still worried that he will come back? The 2 of them nodded and smiled. Giching King said, Indeed. As long as he dares to come out, we can kill him. Now that they were here, they were no longer afraid of Zichun. Gas glanced at the bracers on his body and sighed. This is the paradise for us to live in. Our race is invincible here. Master is wise. Giching King snorted. Giching King, your vision is still too low. What is this? When the Honorable King obtains the title of number 1, it will be time for us to unify the 4 realms. At that time, all the living beings in the world will be at our feet. Giching King waved his hand and took back the crystal ball. I wonder how those demons will react when they see the contents of the crystal ball. The 3 of them turned back. As for Zichun, he kept running forward, not daring to stop. But when he sensed that no one was chasing him, he immediately landed on the ground. Between the mountains, Zichun wiped away all the blood stains. He found a secret place and hid himself underground. It had been a long time since he was so miserable. After entering the underground, Zichun immediately took out a portion of extra-legal energy and began to condense it. The fact that the 3 of them did not chase after him was somewhat out of his expectations, but there was a reason behind it. Ever since he entered this area, Zichun had always felt a strong sense of crisis, so he did not dare to waste a single second. Fortunately, he had a lot of extra-legal energy in his body, so he did not need to hunt anymore. Shueshang was in a worse state than him, but her life was not in danger. She was currently using extra-legal energy to recover. Chapter 4870. Where there are people, there will be conflicts. Where there are conflicts, there will be conflicts. In this temporary trial realm, everyone was very careful in the early stages to protect themselves. But after slowly getting used to it, people's advantages were revealed. The king from Gashan Jia created a stable space and provided it to some of the weaker demons, so he used it to establish his first faction. The crystal ball that King Guqing brought back was replicated here, and almost everyone had one. Zichun was very famous, even among the demons. His pitiful escape made many people feel sad. Of course, for those who had grudges with him, such as the wolf tribe, they clapped and cheered. The king's goal was simple: to unify the trial realm and become the #1 person under everyone's vote. Gashan became the #1 person in the past by fighting, but the king did not plan to walk this path, or rather, he did not want to walk this path for the time being. He wanted to buy people's hearts, and when he became the #1 person, all the resources in the world would belong to him. Then it would not be too late to slowly become stronger. Other than the king, the second faction was quickly born, and it was also a faction from Gashan Jia. It was Meiji and the others, but compared to the king's faction, they had very few people, only a few insiders and a monster refining king. When the monster refining king heard about Zichun, he did not believe it at first. How could the great Lord Zichun lose? But after seeing the Lord Zichun in the crystal ball, he became silent and began to worry for Zichun. It had to be said that the appearance of these people from Gashan Jia had completely disrupted the situation of the demons in this world. If Gashan could see this scene, who knows if he would still leave those things behind. The king continued to ask people to search for Zichun, and at the same time issued a reward. Anyone who could provide accurate information about Zichun would be rewarded with a god's chosen skill. The reason why King Guqing could easily deal with the 8-headed demons, besides the weapon he left behind, was mainly because he cultivated a god's chosen skill. Above the mountains, an extra-legal demon flew through the air, wanting to go far away. During this time, he looked down. The trees were lush, and there was nothing unusual. However, just as he raised his head to look into the distance, a beam of light flew from below like a bolt of lightning, heading straight for the extra-legal demon. Such a change made the extra-legal demon's expression change abruptly. Naturally, a protective barrier appeared around him. Puff. However, this ray of light was extraordinarily powerful. It instantly pierced through his defenses and pierced into his body. A bloody wound appeared on the head of the extra-legal demon, but he did not die immediately. Instead, he jumped up and fled in fear. At this moment, another saber beam flew out from the ground, and a black mountain peak appeared in the sky. Boom! The black peak landed first on the extra-legal demon, causing his body to fall. Then, the saber light approached and cut open his body. After emerging from the ground, Zichun quickly collected the corpse. After using his energy to erase all traces, he dived back into the ground. During this period of time, he didn't go out and just hunted here. That was because he was waiting for rabbits by a tree stump. Whether or not he got any results depended entirely on luck. He knew nothing about what was going on outside, nor did he have the time to care about it. Just healing his wounds took him a long time. The number of points on his token had already reached 18, but he had never exchanged for it. Compared to before, his strength had increased a lot. Thus, he increasingly felt that the level of his weapons was not enough. The flowing saber and black peak were still okay. After all, they were left behind by Gushan. Back then, he used a lot of materials and nurtured them for many years. However, the Thunder Sword was created by himself. Although the materials were not bad, compared to the flowing saber and black peak, they were still lacking. Therefore, Zichun needed a weapon that could complement the Thunder Sword. After hiding himself again, Zichun hesitated for a long time before taking out his token. Injecting his soul remembrance into it, Zichun entered the exchange space. This time, he didn't see anything. Instead, he saw a lot of God's chosen skills and some incomplete protective equipment. For example, a single wrist guard, an earring, a bracelet, etc. The prices varied, but most of them were below 20. Many of the things he saw last time were no longer visible. According to Zichen's estimation, with only 18 points, he could only see things below 20. His eyes wandered around the few things and soon saw a small, dagger-like sword. It was black in color. Zichen walked forward and saw the description. It was a broken sword, God's chosen rank, and the exchange price was as high as 20 points. The items beside it were all trial rank. Zichen didn't understand the difference between the two. Last time, he didn't pay much attention and hastily looked at the points. Now, he was a bit confused. But looking at the price, the Heaven's chosen grade should be higher than the trial grade. Moreover, among these items, this was the only Heaven's chosen grade item, and it was a broken sword. If it was in its complete state, perhaps the points would double. This broken sword was very suitable for him. Unfortunately, he was still 2 points short. Thus, Zichen exited again. Next, he needed to get 2 points. After re-injecting energy into the 3 weapons and increasing his fighting strength, Zichen left the underground and stepped on the path of searching for extra-legal demons. He didn't dare to go too deep and even turn back a little. At this time, he noticed 2 extra-legal demons walking together. Normally, when he saw these two, he would turn and leave. However, today was different. He was still 2 points short. These two were very suitable. Without hesitation, Zichen rushed forward. In a 1-against-2 situation, Zichen used his extreme speed to deal with 1 extra-legal demon. After a series of attacks, he successfully killed one of them. And because he was too eager to kill the enemy, he was hit by a blade. There was residual extra-legal energy in the wound, and blood flowed freely. He had 19 points, 1 more to go. Zichen held his blade and attacked the second extra-legal demon. At this time, there was still about half of the energy left in the 3 weapons. Zichen was very confident. Black Peak took the lead with a terrifying aura. Zichen held his flowing blade and was on guard. The Thunder Sword was waiting for an opportunity to kill. Right now, the power around him had completely changed. Although it was still the original power of thunder, his aura was much stronger than when he first came here. His strength and speed had greatly improved. Whoosh! Under Zichen's strong attacks, this extra-legal demon had already started to retreat. Unexpectedly, at this time, the annoying arrow came again. Feeling the danger, Zichen reflexively withdrew Black Peak and blocked the arrow. Zichen took the opportunity to quickly approach the extra-legal demon and chop down with his blade. The extra-legal demon also held a long blade and fought with Zichen in the air. Bang! The extra-legal demon's energy long blade collapsed, and he quickly retreated. At this time, the hidden Thunder Sword launched a surprise attack and sank into the extra-legal demon's mind. The residual extra-legal energy in it destroyed the extra-legal demon's vitality. On the token, there was another number. He had enough points. Chapter 4871. Seeing the number on the screen, Zichen did not hesitate. The most important thing in this world was to exchange for items. Whoosh! He disappeared into thin air. An arrow pierced through the air, but it missed. The extra-legal demon in the distance seemed to be very surprised. This exchange space could be used as a temporary shelter. Zichen was well aware of this. The white-robed old man had even specifically mentioned this to him before. However, it was only temporary because the next time he appeared, he would still be in the same place. This world was created by the 2 old men, and the rules were also set by them. Of course, they would not lie to Zichen. Zichen appeared here and had enough points. It was time to exchange for items. At this moment, a laugh sounded. I have indeed met you, King Giching. The other party walked over and looked at Zichen mockingly. Little Zichen, you are now a big celebrity. Zichen glanced at the other party. Under the rules, fighting was prohibited, which was why King Giching dared to be so arrogant. You are here to exchange for items? King Giching looked at him. Of course. Zichen nodded. What do you want? King Giching asked. Is it convenient to say? Zichen pointed at the broken sword beside him. Of course it is convenient. It is very close to you. It? King Guqing laughed. What a coincidence. I am also here to exchange for it. I have been looking at it for a long time before I decided to buy it. I have to say, you and I are both people with good taste. Zichun looked at King Guqing with a smile. Is that so? What a coincidence. Of course. King Guqing laughed and reached for the broken sword. This meant that he wanted to exchange for it. Zichun looked at him with a smile. His expression did not change much. Just as King Guqing was about to touch the broken sword, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at Zichun. He said sarcastically, "Do you think I am stupid? You are here to escape, not to exchange for items." Zichun shrugged and said helplessly, "I did not expect you to see through me after hiding so deeply." Haha. King Guqing looked into Zichun's eyes and said, "I'm guessing that you are now under the protection of the extra-legal demons. Don't say that I didn't warn you. The extra-legal demons are extremely intelligent. They can also call their friends. The longer you stay here, the more disadvantageous it will be for you. Maybe by the time you get out, you will already be surrounded by a group of extra-legal demons. They will immediately hack you to death. Thank you for your reminder. I'll remember it." Zichun glanced at him from the corner of his eye. King Guqing pretended not to see it and continued to ask, "Last time when we were chasing you, how long did you run before you stopped?" "Quite a long time, until I didn't dare to run anymore. I only stopped when I realized that you weren't following me." The two of them were clearly mortal enemies, yet they were actually chatting like old friends who had not seen each other for many years. Zichun glanced around from time to time. King Guqing suddenly slapped his forehead. "Ah, look at my memory. This time, I came here to exchange for something, so I started chatting. You see, I just want this." As he spoke, King Guqing decisively exchanged for a bracelet that was worth 18 points. Zichun's expression changed slightly. "What do you mean by this?" "I'm exchanging for something. Look, I don't even have any points left." King Guqing raised the token in his hand. In this extremely short period of time, 2 more people appeared. Without saying a word, they quickly took away the 4 defensive items. They were the 2 kings who had chased after him, Jerry and Gus. Zichun's expression turned ugly. "What do you mean by this?" King Guqing sneered. "Zichun, do you really think that we are fools? You are not only here to escape, but also to exchange for something. I guess that your first goal should be that bracelet, right? Although it is only at the trial level, as long as you can get it, you will be able to survive in a crisis." Looking at Zichun's ugly expression, King Guqing continued, "Last time, you ran into a big trouble in the depths. Now that you are in a desperate situation, you have no choice but to come here, right? Unfortunately, your luck is too bad. You met me, so you have no choice but to jest with me here. Do you think that I don't know what you are thinking?" King Guqing's eyes became extremely cold. "Let me tell you, I want to cut off all your hopes." Zichun calmly said, "So, you bought all these defensive items? Of course. As long as you die, no matter who killed you, we will be very happy." King Guqing said, "Don't worry, we are still looking for you. Maybe we will have a chance to collect your corpse. If I am here to exchange for something, why didn't I exchange before? Why did I have to talk to you?" Zichun asked. "You are afraid that I will take away what you want, or you don't have enough points, so you are looking for something suitable. But now it seems that there is nothing particularly suitable, haha." King Guqing was very proud, and so were the 2 kings beside him. Zichun nodded. "It seems that your IQ is really high. You guessed half of it right. I am indeed escaping to exchange for something, but I don't want to exchange for those things. I want to exchange for this." As Zichun spoke, he reached out and grabbed the broken sword. It turned out that when they were talking, he had quietly approached the broken sword. The next moment, the broken sword was in his hand, and the points disappeared. The smiles on the faces of the 3 kings froze. Zichun ignored the 3 of them and sat down cross-legged on the ground to refine the broken sword. "Guqing, what is going on?" King Guqing looked at him. After being stunned for a moment, Guqing quickly recovered. He smiled coldly and said, "Don't you know how cunning he is? We have already seen through his scheme. He must be flustered and exasperated. So he deliberately used this broken sword energy on us." Guqing said indifferently, Weapons? Do you think that he has few weapons? Is the flowing broken sword not enough? Hearing this, the two of them nodded. What he said made sense. As such, when they looked at Zichun again, it seemed that he was just putting on an act. For a moment, smiles reappeared on the faces of the three kings. Zichun did not know which expression or action of his had caused King Guqing to misunderstand, but he was too lazy to explain. King Guqing was right about one thing. The extra-legal demons were indeed very intelligent. If they delayed any longer, they might really encounter a group of extra-legal demons guarding the surroundings. After a moment, Zichun opened his eyes. Because he had the extra-legal force, the broken sword was relatively easy to refine. He stood up and looked at the three of them, saying, "Gentlemen, we will meet again someday." After saying this, Zichun disappeared. "All right, we will collect your corpse." King Guqing smiled magnanimously. Zichun appeared again, and an arrow flew from afar. As expected, the enemy did not leave. However, this time, with the broken sword, Zichun was not afraid of anything. "Kill!" With a low shout, the broken sword turned into a ray of light and shot towards the arrow in the form of the Sword of Thunder. With a poof, the arrow exploded. The broken sword did not slow down at all and flew directly towards the extra-legal demon that had been fighting with Zichun many times. Poof! Chapter 48-72. The broken sword turned into a stream of light and flew back. It flickered a few times beside Zichun before disappearing. With it, the power of the Thunder Sword became stronger again. Zichun flew forward. During this time, a new number appeared on the token. Putting away the corpse of the extra-legal demon, Zichun walked towards the depths. This time, he would be fearless. King Guqing and the other two waited in the exchange space for a long time. In the end, Zichun did not come. They thought they would see Zichun come in again, covered in blood and with incomplete parts. Since they did not see him, he might have been killed by the extra-legal demon when he went out. This was a good thing. Although they thought so, the three of them still felt a little gloomy when they left. Zichun stood in the air and closed his eyes. He released his soul power endlessly and extended it into the distance. The originally clear sky suddenly became gloomy. Clouds gathered from all directions and gathered in this area. Zichun tried to sense within a radius of 3,000 miles. Within this range and in this state, Zichun would be able to sense even the slightest movement in the wind. An extra-legal demon appeared 3,000 miles away. Looking at the abnormality in the sky, he frowned. Then he moved forward carefully and reached a distance of 3,000 miles. The haze in the sky became heavier. Black clouds rolled and thunder rumbled. The extra-legal demon noticed Zichun from afar and quickly came forward. The sky was completely dark. Occasionally, a light would appear. The thunder was already dormant in the black clouds. The extra-legal demon had a knife in his hand. He slashed from afar. The blade was like a waterfall, coming from 1,000 miles away. Zichun, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened them and said, "Thunderfall." Suddenly, two dazzling thunderbolts appeared in the sky and lit up the dark world again. One thunderbolt shattered the blade. The second thunderbolt fell on the head of the extra-legal demon. Bathed in the thunderbolts, the demon's face was distorted. He was resisting with all his might. Fall again. The thunderbolts in the sky fell again. Heaven and earth lit up again. The thunderbolts fell on the extra-legal demon. When he was still 250 kilometers away from Zichun, he collapsed. He died under the lightning controlling technique. The remnant swords that were originally hidden in the surroundings flew back. This time, they were not used. Zichun dashed forward and collected the corpse. It was another spoil of war. The power of the lightning manipulation technique surprised him. It was almost as powerful as the Thunder Sword in the state of the Broken Sword. If the distance between the two parties was far enough, and the other party did not have any long-range attacks like bows and arrows, Zichun would not be afraid of being surrounded. Within the range of the lightning controlling technique, it was like a domain in the past. Once he pointed at a place, he could hit it there. Furthermore, multiple lightning bolts could appear in an instant. However, once he exited that state, Zichen's soul perception range would decrease to around 1,500 kilometers. Behind him, after refining a large amount of extra-legal energy, the cloak had completely recovered. Fortunately, it was in the form of a living being. Even if it was injured, as long as it did not die, it could recover. Compared to other weapons that were damaged to the point of being difficult to repair, it was much better. A Heaven's Chosen Grade Remnant Sword greatly increased Zichen's combat strength. He had the lightning controlling technique for long-range attacks, the flowing blade and black peak for close combat, and the remnant sword for a fatal blow. He could do whatever he wanted in this relatively deep region. The points that Zichen used up began to increase once again. In the middle of a mountain range, Zichen released his soul force. Within a 500-kilometer radius, even the slightest movement of grass could be clearly detected by him. After there were no more threats, Zichen closed his eyes. An oppressive aura began to spread. The sky darkened and dark clouds covered the sky. His perception once again expanded to a radius of 3,000 kilometers. As expected, there were 2 extra-legal demons in this range. After they noticed the commotion, they came over. Thunder rumbled as Zichen used the lightning controlling technique to attack. Lightning bolts flashed in the sky one after another. After advancing for about 1,000 kilometers, the 2 extra-legal demons were killed by the lightning one after another. However, Zichen did not stop because another evil demon appeared in his range of perception. This evil demon was from Gashan. It was obvious that the other party was sent by King Gashan because only Gashan demons would follow them. The other party had heard the huge commotion earlier. Now that he was in the dark clouds, he was very vigilant. At this moment, the sky above his head suddenly lit up. Then, thunder rumbled and a bolt of lightning descended from the sky. The Gashan demon sensed the commotion and roared. Energy condensed in the air and formed a shield. Boom! The shield shattered and lightning bathed his body. The Gashan demon's expression changed drastically and he was terrified. Then, the second bolt of lightning descended and the Gashan demon's life force began to disappear. The dark clouds in the sky dispersed and Zichen appeared beside the dead Gashan demon. His expression was extremely cold. The other party had already found this place. He believed that there would only be more evil demons coming. During this period, Zichen had to strengthen himself. Other than his powerful battle strength, Zichen was able to resolve the dangers along the way. Another reason was that he was fast enough. Therefore, Zichen had to work hard in this area. The speed of the Thunder tribe no longer had an advantage here, so Zichen had to think of another way. Of course, there was a way, but it depended on whether the points were enough. Zichen deliberately walked deeper into the area and tried to obtain more rewards. However, he did not dare to go too deep. If he was surrounded, it would not be worth it. In a day, Zichen killed 3 extra-legal demons, and his points returned to the number 10. However, he was not sure if there were any speed techniques that were suitable for him. Therefore, he patiently waited for a few days. When his points returned to 20, Zichen found a relatively safe place and entered the exchange space again. This time, he did not encounter King Gashan and did not need to be careful. He could casually check the techniques that were related to speed. His gaze swept across them. Almost all of them were of the trial level, and the trial level was obviously 1 level lower than the chosen level. Zichen was a little hesitant. After all, 1 point was equivalent to the life of an extra-legal demon. Zichen did not want to waste it casually. Within 20 points, there were no suitable techniques. Zichen could only leave first and come back after he had accumulated enough points. When he reached 30 points, Zichen finally saw a suitable chosen level skill, Thunder Escape. It was a speed technique that was very compatible with his strength. Moreover, it was a chosen level skill and only required 28 points. It was slightly more expensive than other things, but Zichen did not hesitate and directly exchanged for it. The Thunder Escape technique was a ball of light. The moment Zichen held it in his hand, it directly entered his sea of consciousness. Then, Zichen saw a figure using Thunder Escape. It was as if it was shuttling through a space of lightning. Chapter 48-73. The Honored King built a city, Evil Demon City. The city was not big, but it was filled with evil demons. These evil demons were definitely loyal to the Honored King. In the city, Other than the people of Gashanjia, the rest were the former Yao. Old Black and the others were here, under the protection of the honored king. But they also needed to pay a certain amount of points, saying that it was for the maintenance of the city. King Giching came to the exchange space. Looking at the dazzling array of goods, he said in a deep voice, "Everyone supports the honored king. He is the number one person in our hearts." There was no one here, so his words were naturally without rhyme or reason. After saying it, there was no response. King Giching changed a few places, said it more than 10 times, and finally disappeared. In the evil demon city, those evil demons were also saying the same thing, but there was no response. Walking back from the exchange space, King Giching went to the honored king's residence. The honored king was leisurely drinking tea here. Seeing the frowning King Giching come in, he gently raised his hand. "Don't be anxious." King Giching sat down. "It is obvious that we are already invincible. Why don't we immediately choose the number one person? These days, we have been shouting everywhere. The existence of this place should have been known." The honored king poured a cup of tea for King Giching. This method was suggested by others, to proclaim that they were the number one person. Although it seemed a little silly, it might have a miraculous effect. Once there was no dispute here, under the joint recommendation of everyone, the number one person would naturally be the one chosen. Recently, everyone had been working hard to proclaim, but there was no response. The honored king drank a cup of tea, put down the teacup, and said slowly, "Maybe we are not united enough." What does the honored king mean? King Giching's face was filled with confusion. The honored king's finger lightly tapped on the table. "Our efforts have not received any response. It should be because some people are not convinced and feel that we are not qualified. So in terms of unity, we have to work harder. Only when we achieve true unity can we convince people." King Giching fell into deep thought. "Have you found Zichun?" the honored king asked. "Still searching? There are some clues, but we can't be sure if it is him. That guy is too good at running." King Giching cursed. "Like a fucking gopher." The honored king smiled and said, "Following behind him will only lead to passivity. In fact, the best way is to take the initiative." King Giching was stunned for a moment before he reacted. "His friends have all run away. We are also looking for them, but it seems that they were born as one family. They are all very good at hiding. So far, we haven't found a single one." The honorable king nodded. "It has indeed been hard on you all during this period of time. However, there's a saying that I'm not sure if you've heard of. It's good to have conditions, but even if you don't have conditions, you have to create them." Duke Giching's eyes lit up. "I understand. Thank you for your guidance. We will do it now." Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Zichun went deeper, because the exchange process was addictive. After accumulating 30 points last time, Zichun found a lot of good things. Unfortunately, he could only exchange them for the Thunder Escape technique first. Now, he wanted more points, and he wanted to exchange them for more things. Just like what King Giching had said, as long as they could obtain the useful items inside, they would be truly invincible. Zichun went on a killing spree in the depths. Once there was danger, he would use the Thunder Escape technique to escape. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. Zichun's perception range had already extended to a radius of 4,000 miles. Within this range, there were a total of 5 extra-legal demons. When they saw the heavens and earth shaking, they immediately ran towards the core area. Zichun's thoughts moved. Lightning fell from the sky and landed on the 5 extra-legal demons. Before they could get close, the 5 extra-legal demons were destroyed by the lightning. Zichun withdrew his thunder manipulation technique and went to collect the spoils. At this moment, there was an abnormality in the sky. Suddenly, a ray of light appeared among the countless dark clouds. The ray of light was extremely dazzling. It was completely out of Zichun's control. Zichun's expression changed. He looked up at the sky. He had already withdrawn his thunder manipulation technique, but the dark clouds and light did not disperse. The pressure between heaven and earth became even more intense, and the surging lightning and the black clouds seemed to have been summoned, heading straight for the place where the light was. There seemed to be a breath of life there. Zichun's expression changed. He was extremely vigilant. At this moment, the infinite light pierced through the darkness. All the dark clouds dissipated. A ball of spiritual light more dazzling than the sun appeared in the sky. What is this? Zichun looked at the spiritual light. He was a little shocked. Through his perception, the spiritual light contained an extremely powerful breath. At this moment, the spiritual light suddenly flew towards Zichun. Zichun did not hesitate to use the thunder escape technique. His body moved through the space and appeared in another place. The spiritual light was also flickering with Zichun. After Zichun's body changed 3 times in a row, the spiritual light finally caught up and disappeared into Zichun's mind. The next moment, the world in Zichun's sea of consciousness began to roll. At the same time, a message appeared. Spirit manipulation. This was a technique that was completely different from the thunder manipulation technique. In other words, it was an advanced version of the thunder manipulation technique. The most extraordinary thing was that this spiritual light was born naturally. It was born from slaughter and belonged to the spirit of slaughter. It looked radiant and very pure. In fact, it was formed from the condensation of life. Zichun's lightning manipulation technique had killed countless existences ever since he learned it. Not to mention those weak creatures, he had killed plenty of demon-level existences. Therefore, the spirit of slaughter was born. It also made Zichun's thunder manipulation technique another type of spirit manipulation technique. Zichun looked at the newly born spirit of slaughter. Although it was very powerful, it was in the state of soul power. It would be consumed and damaged. If it encountered a relatively powerful attack, it might be directly destroyed. Zichun stretched out his hand. With a flash of light, the spirit of slaughter appeared. With a thought from Zichun, it, which was just pure soul power, began to change into various forms. I can try to give it a layer of protection. Zichun's eyes lit up. He took out the broken sword. With a thought, the spirit of slaughter turned into the broken sword in the form of a soul. With another thought, the 2 broken swords overlapped with each other and began to merge. Zichun was a little nervous and worried. The merging process was faster than he had imagined. In an instant, the broken sword trembled and released a sharp aura. The surrounding space began to distort as if it was about to shatter. It was a success, but this was only the first step. Zichun nervously ordered again. With a swoosh, the spirit of slaughter left the broken sword. Without the spirit of slaughter, the broken sword returned to normal. It works. It's not restricted by the rules. Staying in the broken sword is like having an additional layer of armor. Zichun was completely relieved. The appearance of the spirit of slaughter was a complete surprise. At this moment, an extra-legal demon followed the previous movement and appeared in Zichun's perception. Zichun glanced at the broken sword. The trembling broken sword was like a stream of light. It flew thousands of miles away and cut off the extra-legal demon's head. The power of spirit manipulation. The broken sword flew back. Zichun was extremely satisfied. With the spirit of slaughter, his combat strength had increased dozens of times. Chapter 48-74. In the sky, an extra-legal demon was running for his life. His eyes were filled with fear as he looked back from time to time. The surroundings were very quiet. There was nothing behind him, but it was still difficult to suppress the fear in his heart. Whoosh! When he looked back for the 3rd time, a black light flew from afar. His reaction was not slow. He immediately activated his energy, but it was useless. The black light sank into his glabella. It was a short sword, as black as ink. After piercing through his glabella, it turned into a stream of light and returned. A moment later, a light shadow approached. It was Zichun in his cloak. He waved his hand and put away the corpse of the extra-legal demon. At the same time, the number on the trial taker's token had reached 49. This was only the result of 3 days. Zichun was very confident that he could get more points in the future. Now, perhaps he could exchange for something that he liked. Therefore, after harvesting another life, Zichun entered the exchange space. This time, he was rich and overbearing. He was not worried about King Guqing causing trouble again. Zichun did not know if it was a coincidence or not, but he really saw King Guqing. Just like last time, before Zichun could greet him, King Giching took the initiative to come to Zichen's side. He said with a smile, "You're not dead yet?" Zichen replied indifferently, "You're not dead either." "Of course I'm not dead, but some people might be dying. Poor. Really pitiful." King Giching smacked his lips. "You seem to be implying something." Zichen looked at him. "I wonder if you've heard of the name Maine." "Zichen?" King Giching said mysteriously. "She's about to die." Zichen's expression changed. "What are you up to now?" King Giching hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Zichen, you've misunderstood me this time. I didn't provoke her. Maine was courting death." "You want to know?" "I'll tell you slowly. One of our demons had a conflict with another demon. It was originally a small matter, but who would have thought that the other demon would call a friend to help? Guess who this friend is?" Duke Guching clapped his hands. "What a coincidence. It's Maine." So when we saw the two of them, we could only try to persuade them. Who knew that Maine wouldn't listen and even wanted to use her family's influence to suppress them? Of course, they wouldn't listen. But who would have thought that when they actually fought, the two of them were unable to defeat one of them? One of them was killed on the spot, and Maine was captured. King Giching shook his head and said regretfully, "Actually, this is a very small matter. If I had known, with my relationship with Maine, I would definitely have let it go. Who would have thought that our honorable king would find out about this? Think about it, as a dignified honorable king. Don't you want face? That's why the honored king detained Maine. Actually, it was a small matter. As long as Maine gave in and Meiji came to apologize, what could not be resolved? After all, they have been neighbors for countless years." Zichun listened quietly to Duke Guching's nonsense, the sarcasm in his eyes growing. But who would have thought that this mother and daughter pair would have the same temper? They refused to give in, and a small matter became a big matter. Duke Guching shook his head regretfully. "See, the honorable king gave the order to execute Maine in the evil demon city. Don't you think it's a pity?" Zichen nodded and said, "It's a pity. In order to kill me, you guys really put in a lot of effort and took a lot of detours. This Maine is really unlucky. If I hadn't come here today, Maine might have been able to hold on." Duke Guching gave Zichen a, "You know what I mean look. I've been waiting for you for many days, unless you didn't come here at all. Since you're here, Maine's life can count down." Zichen said, "So, you guys are willing to offend Meiji to get rid of me?" Duke Guching gave a thumbs up. "Zichen, you're really smart. You guessed it right. However, it's not like offending Meiji. After all, our neighbors have been unreliable for so many years. The honorable king means to get rid of as many as possible. What if I know and still don't go? It's very simple. Torture Maine every day until it dies." Duke Guching looked at Zichun. "When it comes to torturing people, you should be the most familiar with our methods, right? If Maine dies, we'll find someone else. There must be someone you care about here, right?" Zichen nodded. "Your analysis is very good. So, when I get there, I'll kill you first." Duke Guching immediately clapped his hands. "Welcome, welcome, a warm welcome." "Address? Evil Demon City. It's a city we established ourselves. Other than some disobedient demons, all the other demons live there. Xiaohei, you've seen them before. Their faction of demons all live there. I've received the message. You can scram now." "Understood. Then this little one will respectfully welcome the Lord's death." Duke Guching smiled and cupped his fists at Zichun. He was very pleased with himself. Scram. Zichen's eyes turned cold. The grudge between him and the honorable king's faction had long been irreconcilable. There was no need to hide it. There were no more conspiracies. This time, the other party had set up such a situation to determine one's life and death. And this life and death might be related to the direction of the first person. After Duke Guching left, Zichun looked around. Since he was going to that city, he needed to exchange for something that could save his life. Not long after Zichun received the news, the same news spread from the trial realm. In addition to adding false details, they also had to say that Zichun would be attending the ceremony as well. The honorable king's move was very simple.